I think a lot of people are just scared and fearful, rightly so, of for their lives. And psychologically, seeing death and torture in short clips like that on the news or on your Instagram feed or on your, your video stuff is so perturbing. And it's in a way, and it's a good thing because that way we all know what's going on. Like there's no question, like some people are like, no, it's because, they did something wrong. The person did something wrong.
Right.
Or like, well, the police report said that they tripped over. So I don't know, but now it's clear as day. We have a big problem with the police entity here in the United States. But it's also traumatizing for everyone. But if we weren't traumatized, then people wouldn't go out in the streets because it's so outrageous. It's so unbelievable.
It is. And what is so sad is that it has been brought to our attention many times. And it's not new. And it's perhaps fresh for some. I suppose for some people, the only exposure they had began in 1991 with the Rodney King video.
Right.
That may have been the first time for a lot of people in the United States to understand that there's disproportionate use of force against black people, people of color, marginalized people, black people specifically, obviously Rodney King. And from that point forward, there have been numerous video leaks that have made everyone absolutely certain by this last video of George Floyd that there's no doubt any longer.
Right.
That there's no room for doubt. There's video evidence. But the truly sad thing is that many people in the United States did not require any video evidence and have been talking about this for a long, long, long time.
Yeah.
And now we're finally catching up as a country.
I have to admit, I didn't understand that myself until moving here to Georgia. What like calling the police meant.
Mm-hmm.
In Miami, as a light-skinned Latino in Miami, where everybody's Latino, like I never felt or faced any kind of discrimination from the police. I felt like when our house got robbed, we called the police and they came and, they got fingerprints and everything was good. So I never really thought about or knew about police brutality. My brother, who's more dark-skinned than I am, did get more harassed than I did. But I, at the time, just thought, because my brother had eggs in his pocket. And so he was being like a bad kid. And that's why he got tussled with by an adult cop. He was, I don't know, 13, maybe 12 years old. He was a little boy. But at the time, that was my privilege. I just thought, like, not much of it. And then I lived in a neighborhood, a predominantly Black neighborhood. I think you came to visit me there, and when I was living in that house.
Sure, multiple times.
Yeah. And when there was a fight outside of my house and on the street, like in my sidewalk, I would call the police and not think anything of it. I would say thinking I was being a good neighbor. Thinking I was doing helping the neighborhood by being like, look, there's like these weird guys fighting here, like nobody wants this, but not realizing that when calling the police, like I could have put those people's lives in danger.
Right.
I didn't realize that at the time. So there's just also a lot of learning. People are learning um, that the police are specifically targeting Black, dark-skinned people, sometimes mentally disabled people on purpose. Like they use force
Mm-hmm.
on a lot of time innocent people.
Oh yeah, and not just Black people, white
Right.
people, Hispanic people, Asian people,
Yeah.
unidentified people, people of all backgrounds, races, religions, um, and I think that truly is the problem, is that it's the police. It's police brutality. It's their use of force. It's this band of brotherhood kind of thing where they can't tell on one another, and this whole system. And yeah, it was premised on locking Black people up, a long
Yeah.
time ago, and there's obviously still, you
I just
know,
learned about that as well.
elements of that. Of
Yeah,
course,
and
it doesn't
and
disappear
and it,
overnight.
yes, I would consider myself a liberal person, I have, but it's weird and confusing to have uh so many histories just not known,
Mm,
just from suppression.
right.
Um,
Lack of information and education on the subject, and we were all raised to believe in the Constitution and in our rights and how they were equally distributed, but it's just not truly the case. There's a power imbalance. There's an imbalance in the justice system, and it's gone on so long because the majority of the United States is white, and they were unaware. And I don't think that the United States is a racist country. I think there are racists in the country. I think there is systemic racism to be found, but I don't think it's a racist country. And I think that's clear by looking at the protests. I think you can see that the problem is not the division in the people as much as it is the discrepancy between the system of justice and the people. And
yeah,
I think that's why people finally are doing the right thing, and they're joining together to fight this together, because
yeah,
it doesn't help anyone.
no,
And even people who think that they're not affected, those people out there that look at the looting and the rioting and get angry about that, as opposed to being angry about what happened to George Floyd, those people are also, kind of victims of their environment. I mean, a lot of people these days, they talk about life experience, and having to understand what my life experience is, and it may not be what you understand, and it's through my living my experience that I've come to these conclusions, and you'll only understand if you listen, because you can't possibly until you're exposed. So to me, as far as racists go, as far as anyone who's committing any heinous act, criminally or otherwise, anything vile, these people are ignorant to a lot of things. And I don't think that a lot of these people who are angry about the looting and rioting are a lost cause. I don't think these people who might defend the police over the murder of George Floyd are a lost cause. I think that it's just a matter of connecting the dots, building the bridges, having the open dialogue and the discussion, because people who leave racism behind don't go back to it.
yeah,
Once their eyes are open, they can't be closed again. And the
that's
fact that they
true.
might be closed right now, and a lot of people have them closed, they don't understand the issue. It's only because they haven't had that olive branch. Nobody has educated them. And, it's not really time to point the finger in my eyes. It's not time to divide and say anything that's inflammatory or antagonizing or provoking to anyone at all. Whether it be the police or a black man or a white man or a woman or a transgender person. Just we have to stop with all that hate, with all of that antagonizing speech, because these people that we see as our enemy are just like, in the most basic of language, like friends we haven't met yet, you know? And it's like, it's heartbreaking to see a lot of people get swept up in the emotion and get more or less overtaken by the hate, which I completely understand, because hate filled my heart too when I saw that video. And I wanted to be aggressive to the perpetrator. I just had thoughts of uncontrollably wanting to drop kick that guy, But I think we all know deep down in our heart that just prolongs it. It just stretches out the problem. And anyone who's been a victim of abuse most likely will have a tendency to abuse. And people who have been brought up racist were abused. That's mental abuse, to tell your child that there's lesser thans, or there's
Right.
these types of paradigms. They don't exist. It's mental abuse. These people were
It's
abused.
interesting to put it like that.
You know.
I think saying it that way gives people a bridge to communication.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I really um uh I really like what you said there, because it is very easy just to cut things off from communication. Um, and like I feel like there is a clear enemy to me in my mind when
Hmm.
before you said what you said.
Hmm.
Um, but it's interesting to think of like a police officer, um, thinking of a police officer in those terms of they just haven't opened their eyes yet. They haven't seen. But haven't they seen?
I don't think so. I don't think you can commit acts like that if you're aware that we all are deserving of love, and that we're all equal, and that we all deserve to be heard. I think those people don't think that certain parts of society deserve to be heard, that certain parts of society deserve opportunity. And the reason why they think that is because they've been mentally abused. They've been steered down the wrong path. And to be quite honest, there's no more room in prison. We can't just keep putting people in prison that we think that are unfit for society. I mean, it can't be true that the United States has this many people that are unfit to live on the street. Already over 2 million in prison, many of which are there for nonviolent crimes, many of whom were first-time offenders, and many of whom will never see the light of day again. And it's because, in a large part, the United States has a problem with 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 rehabilitative processes. It's about yes or no, black or white, evil, good, Trump, Clinton, whatever. It's these lines that everyone is drawing. And for me, I, I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of it, because I honestly can sit down with anyone and value them as a human being and put aside their religious, their political, their beliefs. It's almost irrelevant when you're talking to a human. If you're talking to your enemy, it's relevant. If you're talking to um, someone out of fear, it's relevant. But if you just look at someone as a human being, it's irrelevant what they believe. It doesn't matter, because that's the past. It's the present now. Everything is possible. Anything is possible, And I like to think of Daryl Davis. He's one of my heroes. He's the black man who converted over 200 KKK, And if you look into his story, it's incredible that this black man went to Klan rallies, spent time with the Grand Wizards, sat down with them like human beings, and asked them why. Why do you hate black people? Not fuck you. But why? And they told him why. And he didn't leave the room. He stayed there. And he allowed for it. And over time, they had to stop hating because there was nothing to hate. There was nothing to dislike. There was nothing to work against any longer. And over 200 KKK members gave this man their robe and exited the KKK for good. A black man. It seems impossible. It seems so fantastical because most people you would ask about the KKK would say, string
They're
them
the
up,
worst.
throw
Yeah.
them at the bottom of the prison. But there's no more room for that. I think as a society, as the planet Earth progresses forward, we can't look at people as disposable. They're not disposable. You know, we're so into this disposable society. Oh, my thing doesn't work anymore. Toss it in the garbage. Throw it away. And in terms of trying to fix something, most people are over that. It's just get a new one. You can't do that with people. They have to be fixed. People can be fixed. You know, some may not, but the vast majority can. And usually it's love and understanding, compassion that does it. You know? I mean, you've seen so many images from this protest, as have I, as has everyone. And the most beautiful ones are when people come together and they just take a moment, take the knee, give each other a hug, share a bottle of water. These are the most beautiful images. And at the same time, you know there's an incredible amount of tension surrounding those situations. And it can be easily the other way around. But it's the strength and bravery of these individuals committing themselves to love. Above all else, love. Of course, the police officer dressed in riot gear staring you down appears to be the enemy. Of course. But there's still a chance. You know, there's still a chance. And instead of just giving up, I say give it a chance. Give it a chance. By all means, there are people that are beyond redemption. And they're the ones that have to be out, for sure. And it's not going to be the civilians that are going to have a great chance at doing that. It's going to be the other officers who decide it's enough is enough. I'm not going to allow my name to go down with this person's name. Let's tattletale. Let's rat on this person. Let's narc. Forget this brotherhood bullshit. It's not getting us anywhere.
I think that might be the only way is to do it from the inside.
Yeah. And why should those people do that if they think everyone's against them? Then not only every citizen is against them, now the corrupt people in the precinct are also against them? That's the most dangerous position to possibly have. All citizens are against you, and then you try to clean up your department. Now the whole department's against you? That's an impossible position. I wouldn't want that weight on anybody. But if the police officers know that the citizens are going to back them up, that there's still hope left in our hearts, then they can jump on board and get these fucking people out. Get them out. Look at their record. How many complaints have been presented against these people? It's not so hard to determine who's the bad apple, you know?
Right. Everybody knows who's the bad cop in your team.
They know. They must know. It's obvious. And it might be overwhelming, you know? You might have to look towards outside help, but it can be done, I think, you know? We just can't scrap the whole thing.
One of our commissioners had proposed to reallocate a certain amount of the police budget for a new social worker, for 2 new social workers instead of 2 new police officers. So when like people are saying like defunding the police, like funds can be reallocated to get people to help, get social workers, get psychologists and stuff like that on the police task force. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the police maybe might have to change, might have to be a different thing.
Or then maybe
Be
they need a longer vacation. Maybe half of them have PTSD. You know, maybe half of them are ill. You know, who knows? I can't imagine. I would never want to be in their shoes. Never. I have zero interest in being a police officer. And I think that's why a lot of negative elements join because it's a crazy position. It's crazy. You have to be a little crazy to get involved, you know? Either you're a hero or a villain, basically. That's kind of you know? I mean, how can it be attractive to anyone else?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, same thing with the church. Either you're a hero or you're a villain. There's really little in between. You know, these are crazy jobs out there. But a lot of
Yeah.
people depend on these people, you know? And we can't just throw out the church, can't just throw out the police department, can't just throw out the government. In my opinion, it's so dangerous to think like that. That's why I'm tired of any of that rhetoric that makes a bold comment like that. You know, like everyone who votes for Trump is a racist. All the police are racist. Antifa are all terrorists. You know, what else? I mean, it goes on and on and on. These lines, you know, even like all white people have privilege. A lot of them do, but I'm sure there's a lot of impoverished white people who are uneducated who have been under the boot of the country since they were born, too. You know, and that
Coal
I
miners
yeah, I don't know
in
if
Virginia.
there's no blanket term for any group of people, whether you're gay, straight, you know, black, white, you know, everything, all of that has to stop, and we have to just focus on identifying who truly is an evil person or bad person, and who isn't, you know, and
Yeah. You know, uh, I feel also that there's um, a stereotype that all cops are white. Like they're
mm-hmm,
not. It's not a white thing. It's not about white people. It's about police officers. Police officers is the problem. It's not white people.
it's
Like no one's
absolutely
saying anything about white people. Like
mm,
we're people are talking about the police.
the police.
Like in George Floyd's case, not everybody there was white.
Yeah,
So it's the police that's enabling people to do this. The police department, the police culture
for sure.
is
Yeah,
the problem that we've given a group of people free range to kill,
yeah,
basically for like that needs to change somehow. Like it's yes, it's the people that have the guns, but it's also the idea to have guns like that. Like our whole way of society has to change, I think.
I
Like
think so too. Like the death penalty. The
what
United
is that?
States is still very much wrapped up in this death penalty argument where, you know, I get it. Some people may not deserve to share society amongst us because they're that heinous, they're that evil, they're that wicked. But throw them in a room and just lock it up, as far as I'm concerned. The death penalty sets a precedent that people deserve to die. And
Yeah,
once that gets in people's heads, then they, you know, interpret it their own ways when they're out in the streets. People
right.
deserve to die. It's coming from the top to the bottom. You know, how can I refute it? I'm standing here with my gun. I know people deserve to die. I think this one deserves. No. Nobody deserves to die. Not by the hands of another. You know, it's a
Right.
very sad, tragic, unfortunate event when someone dies at the hands of another, even if it's in self defense. It's sad and tragic and disturbing.
But
And I don't think
but
anyone sleeps good at night killing
yeah,
another person. It's terrible.
they see, but then I think it's not the guns problem because then the police do that. They do apprehend terrorists like the Dylan Roof. They gave him a hot or a burger or whatever. They took him, gave him some food,
Mm-hmm.
and he just did something heinous. You know, some people could say he deserved to die, but the police knew how to treat someone, even if they did the most heinous thing. So they do know how to treat people,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they just have they really think, I guess, black people deserve to die. Then is that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's their mindset. And that's what needs to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is the
There's
mindset.
it's the mindset. It's it's just not okay that any of these officers who've done any of this to black people have been let off. None of it's okay. And it
Or
can't
even just
pot
get fired. So what? You get fired. Yeah. You get arrested
right.
immediately.
The police cannot be above the law. They cannot. There's zero hope for the country or for the future if the police remain above the law. They can't be putting on their little sirens to go through red lights because they want to go get a cheeseburger. They can't go taking people's dignity away because they're in a bad mood. They can't do it. It has to stop, you know? And then you have to get all of these district attorneys out of there, these state attorneys who are choosing the charges that are to be applied in these cases. You know, nobody's really even looking at them. But they're the ones that put these phony baloney charges down that let them off so easily, that let these people walk, you know? And these people are elected officials. So everyone's all, you know, vote, 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 vote for the presidency. To me, that's like the least of the problem.
Yeah.
Stop even talking about it. Really, it doesn't affect much change. Don't people realize that? That not much changes overall? It's kind of a game. Every 4 years, the same game, pulling on everyone's heartstrings, dividing everyone, making everyone feel like half the population is the enemy, the other half is our saints. It's baloney. You know, most people can get along. Look at the streets. Look what's going on. Most people can get along. Not everyone, but most. You know, and because of that, most people have to talk and have to organize, you know, and get together and stop putting these people in power, or allowing for these people to be put in power by people who have been victims of mental abuse their whole lives, who have no idea what they're voting for, who don't get it, you know? And I don't think it's the job of the black community to educate the white community, you know? Well,
True.
it's the white people's job. I mean, the black people have waited long enough, too long, way too long, you know?
It's true.
And to expect them to educate everyone or to share their experience, it's unnecessary. We have enough information out there to share amongst each other, to educate each other on that subject. And, you know, George Floyd's death could have ultimately been prevented if we had gotten on this earlier. You know, so we have to take some blame here, you know, as a country, and not think that we can just all say, no, it's the police. It's not only the police. We've known about this. You know, a lot of us have been too comfortable to do much about it, while some of us do things in our own ways. But I got to go back to Daryl Davis. This guy, he put himself in the hornet's nest. He sat in Klan rallies. The only black man at a Klan rally. I mean, talk about being in the line of fire, and then you got people saying, I can't talk to my mom or dad about this. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You can talk to your brothers, sisters, employees, staff, colleagues. You can do it. If Daryl Davis can go to a Klan rally, then you can talk to your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, for sure. And that, I think, is starting to happen.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, it's I mean, everybody in their family knows someone in their family who's racist, and you're like, well, you know, you can't really talk with them. You know, like, oh, I just avoid talking with them about politics or whatever
Because it's uncomfortable.
because it's uncomfortable.
Well, it's
Yeah.
way more uncomfortable having a knee on your throat until you're dead. That's way more uncomfortable. And until we find the bravery to face this uncomfortable truth, then we have to take responsibility for what's happening. There's a price to pay for that silence, you know? I'm not totally into the idea of people who are silent on the matter are perpetrators, but there's an element of it there. There is. You know? I don't know. I mean, it's really hard because a lot of people obviously are angry towards people that don't share in the sympathy or empathy of what's happening. A lot of people get angry, but that's just exacerbating the problem. You know, I think when you reach out with anger, it compounds the problem. It strengthens the divide. You know, I think I think society needs like a whole makeover. Honestly, like we've been filling our heads with such trash for the last decade. I can't believe it. It's just
Yeah.
insane what pop culture is serving us and what we're, voluntarily we're feeding the beast. We can't wait for a new episode, a new season of this garbage.
Yeah. I was looking at like my Netflix, and there's so many like devilish things. Like there's a show called Lucifer.
Hmm.
There's like um the Games of Thrones or whatever, like
Dexter, Walking
Dexter,
Dead.
Walking Dead, like the anti-hero idea, but taken to the extreme
Hmm.
where you have, sympathy for the devil kind of a thing.
And you have this whole humiliation culture where people love to see people burn at the cross. They just love it. We
Or
might as
that
well just
show
start burning witches
Black
again.
Mirror.
People would love it. People would love it.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a witch, burn her. I mean, it's honestly what people are doing in a metaphorical sense when they just take somebody down and just laugh at them while they're on their lowest point.
Yeah. I
It's
saw that in
awful.
Black Mirror. They do that a
Hmm.
lot in Black Mirror. A lot of it is like your your worst nightmare is being humiliated and turned into, laughing stock of some
Yeah.
kind, or being tricked.
And each and every one of us has something that we should be embarrassed about, I'm sure. Obviously, there's something that would make you feel shameful if it was brought to public attention. So, you know, I get it. It's easier to be the one laughing than the one to be laughed at. But how about we just stop that altogether, and just kind of be a bit more compassionate. I mean, so many of these pop culture moments are about watching people go up in flames. And it's almost like trickery because it's presented as if we do care about the person somehow. Whether it's Desperate Housewives or whatever it else. Oh yeah, I like this. Well, why do you like it? A lot of people like it because they think that they're above the people on it. They think that they're dumb and they like to laugh at them. The Kardashians. They love and hate them. This love hate thing.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a real mind fuck. You
Yeah.
know that I mean, we were talking about a little bit before of how like is there evil transmitted when you watch that stuff? Is it does it have an effect on
I think
someone's
so.
consciousness? You
Yeah,
know?
like I feel like I think we were talking, we were talking about this, like in that the officer who killed George Floyd, I didn't look at his eyes for very long. It was like for just a second because I covered it. I couldn't watch. But in that second, I could see evil. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how else to describe it, but pure blank, no feeling evil.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that evil feeling is permeated and transferred
Yeah.
into the public, has been transferred into our hearts to make people really act up.
To me, that's true evil. Murderers and rapists, pure evil. And I
Yeah.
I also think that they too were victimized in some way. Otherwise, they wouldn't be committing such acts unless they had some sort of chemistry, mental imbalance. That can happen too. But if this is a healthy person otherwise, and they're raping or murdering someone, then they're evil. It may be from a source of victimhood, but it's too late. In my eyes, those are the people that belong in prison. Those are the people that should not be allowed out. Murderers and rapists. Maybe after 50 years of proving that they've gotten over that tendency, maybe you give them a second chance in society. But otherwise, I don't think there's much hope or
I
reform
don't
for a
know. I
murderer
think
or rapist.
once
I,
you go once you go blood, you can't go back, I think. It
you know what I
seems like.
mean? And to me, it's like prison should be reserved for evil, not for drug
Yeah.
users, not for people that
Yeah.
are fraudulent on a tax form or whatever. I don't know whatever other crimes get you into prison, but it should be for evil. To protect society from evil. The rest of the people have to be treated with dignity, have to be offered a second chance, have to be offered a road to redemption, and not thrown in with a bunch of evil people. where basically redemption becomes like, I don't know, maybe off the table entirely because of that thing that we're talking about. It's that, how do you be present with evil every day and then somehow be good? I
You
don't think
can't.
you can. I mean, it made me sick watching that video, sick to my stomach. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking, if you're in prison with a bunch of people like that, your heart's gonna go. You're gonna get
You have
sick.
to. You have to. You have, in order to survive that environment, you
You
have
know?
to, unless you decide, I'm just going to die. I'm just going to die by, which I don't know if you can, if your body will let
Mm-hmm.
you just die like that, unless you commit suicide or something. But in order to, yeah, to survive that, you'd have to become evil yourself.
Right. I think so. And this is a huge problem that's affecting the United States in a big way. There's so much violence as a result of this,
Yeah, it's because
revolving
it's
door in the prisons of people spilling
violence.
back out, committing more
Yeah,
crimes, going back in and out, in and
yeah,
out. Just keep the evil in and don't put the people who aren't evil in there. Maybe build a secondary type of prison. These people should not be mixing. And I'm
yeah.
sorry, but a lot of the people who work with those evil people in prison, they're probably evil too.
Yes, I
You
was just
know?
thinking that it because it's a disease. It's like something that spreads. It's a plague of some kind.
It's like a
Hatred and
virus.
evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, from the top down, there needs to be prison reform. There needs to be, police reform, and I think people have to take a second look at the death penalty, and perhaps legalize drugs while you're at it. You know, because these people who are using drugs do not belong in prison.
No.
And we don't need to give the police another excuse to go no knock raid a person's house in the middle of the night to terrorize them for smoking drugs or doing drugs. It's insane, And a lot of those horrible acts or overuse of force by the police are in that particular vein. Drug control, the drug war,
Right.
flashbang grenades, pow 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 pow, in the baby crib or whatever, like complete um, ignorance to human life, complete, not. It's insane. It's insane. So I mean, there's so many elements to it. If you ask me, what people are up in arms about, it's not just one thing. It's a multitude of things, all interconnected. And that's why I've had a very exhausting week, because my mind, it likes to look at things like that and try to find a solution, but it's not like that. It's not like, oh, solution. Oh yeah, we'll just vote in November. Solution. No. Oh, we'll just go out there and tell everyone dressed in police gear they're a pig. No. It's there's no easy fix to it. And then you got the wolf in sheep's clothing out there too. You got a lot
Yeah.
of people out there with maybe a good intention, perhaps, but twisting it and for their own gain. You know,
The looters.
the looters, and I'm sorry, but I'm no fan. I'm no fan of Antifa. I know there's a lot of people
Oh,
swept up in that movement that are good people. I get it. I mean, it's very attractive to a young person who's completely hopeless and disenfranchised. Oh, here's a group that's going to take. It's like a gang. We're going to
yeah.
treat you like family. We're gonna get the oppressor. I get it. It's an attractive message, anti-fascism. I get it, but I'm not into punching people out who haven't provoked you. I'm not
Oh,
into that. I'm not into acts of violence.
no,
Against people
no.
who aren't
It's not that
provoking it.
violent. Yeah, no.
And these people are training one another to commit acts of violence, unprovoked acts of violence, to just run up on people. No way, man. Get that out of
No.
here.
Well, the FBI did a investigation and they found that Antifa was not even participating in the uh, demonstrations because the president was blaming them specifically, and they didn't find any evidence of that there was an organized Antifa um, violent thing. That
Hmm.
they didn't find any evidence of that.
I mean, I don't know.
Is what the FBI said.
Where did all those bricks come from? Those
The
stacks of
police
bricks?
the police bring them out. Um,
What's up with that? Do
I
you
don't
know
know.
something about
There was
that?
somebody captured a video of the police removing bricks from their trunk and, taking them out of their trunk.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't understand why the
I
police
don't
put
either.
that out there. Um, I know it is a tactical thing for the police to do that, but I don't understand why. I I saw that it also happened in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
And so what the protesters are supposed to do is scatter the bricks on the floor, and create like a barrier so that it's harder for the police to get through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know. I don't
It's
understand.
bizarre, right?
I don't, I don't understand the motivation of the police to have them out.
I don't either, considering it can kill a police officer. It's not
I don't know.
non-lethal to throw. I mean, that's
And and then what? Like looters are supposed to be like, wow, a whole bunch of bricks. Let me just
it's
throw them. Like,
yeah.
I don't get it. I don't know.
I don't either. I don't get that at all. The brick thing is very mysterious and very dark. I don't know. Because a brick can, smash a window, but can also end someone's life, and which it did. I think haven't a few people died as a result of having bricks thrown at.
I don't know. I know people have lost their eyes, um,
I mean,
because of rubber bullets, but I don't. I know people have died, but I don't know how.
hmm I'm not
Um,
exactly sure either. I think over 15 people though have died since the protest began.
yeah, well, I mean, they're running people over. Like
Shooting people.
people. They pushed an elderly man. I don't know if he's died, but looked not very good.
Oh, that
Um,
yeah. That's crazy. That 75-year-old man that got pushed to the ground and his head began to bleed. It's so crazy because they charged that officer and then the entire squad resigned. 57 officers
oh wow,
defending his action.
wow,
I mean, good riddance.
yeah,
Don't come back. If you
wow,
defend that, I'm glad you're gone.
holy moly,
That's pretty sick, though. 57
57.
think that that was the right thing to do? What? That's crazy. And we can't even say it's racist. It's a white old man. So we're
Well,
talking
that's
about just people that are evil. They're
that's what I'm
messed up in
saying.
the head. It's the
Not
police.
a white or black thing.
Yeah.
It's not the police. They don't care.
It's brutality, yeah. It's police
It's brutal.
brutality. And there has to be a better way. I mean, golly, there are so many different ways to stop somebody.
He wasn't even. I don't know what he was doing. I mean, it doesn't matter. Most people weren't doing anything.
It looked
Most
like he
people.
was returning one of their helmets.
What?
Yeah, he had a helmet in his hand. It looked like he was walking over there to give it back. As a 75-year-old man does, very slowly, completely non-threatening. So to defend that, not only did the guy push him down and bust his head open, but didn't help after he was down on the ground. He just kept walking.
Yeah,
That's
the disgusting
indefensible.
things that they do. Like the tasing and harassment of the two college students in Atlanta. I don't know if you saw that.
hmm
Um,
Yeah.
just brutalizing these young people for no reason, just
I
tasing them and
yeah,
tasing them.
it's insane. Where are they getting the training? What is that?
I
Who
don't
told
know.
them that that's what you should do? Shoot first, ask questions later. What's
The
up with that?
president, the president, he
I don't think it
basically
could be
said,
just this
he
is something that's
said,
been going on for hundreds of years,
okay, that's true, but
you know?
looters will will start shooting when there's looters out. Whatever his tweet was,
Well, yeah,
is
he
I
threw
think a
gasoline
message.
on a fire, that was burning for hundreds of years
I
for
think
sure.
they understand, or they feel like they're doing the right thing because the president wants them to do it because they're the enemy. The protesters are the enemy.
I mean, Occupy
That's the
Wall
only
Street
thing.
was the same thing though, and that was with
Yeah.
Obama as the president. So I don't think it
Mm.
matters who's sitting in that chair. The police are the police, and they're doing their thing, and they're being trained by Israeli Secret Service forces in military tactical operations and so on and so forth. And you know, as far as these affluent politicians or affluent celebrities, oh, blah blah blah. I'm in it for the fight. It's like I don't know, man. You know, I don't know because it's a photo op to me. You know, if you've been a career politician and now you're talking about, come on, man, come on. You know, let's not play games. Everyone knows there's an election coming up. Everyone knows you're gaming people and you're twisting it. People have to look at each other. Stop looking for answers or for anger from these people sitting in their villas, in their chateaus, you know? Like, if you're a wealthy, affluent person talking about defunding the police in an impoverished neighborhood, just shut up about that. You know? You're not worried about it. You don't need the police. You can hire special services, security forces, build whatever size fence you want around your compound. You know, I don't think you have a place to talk. You know, if anything, do your best to, like I said, to get these state prosecutors out. Use your celebrity to talk about who's putting these phony charges up. Why is everyone walking after they kill somebody? Talk about that. Don't talk about
Well,
defunding the police.
the charge for that elderly man was that he tripped and fell. Like
Yeah. So
the
who's the
report rather.
prosecutor? What's that
Yeah.
prosecutor's name? Don't re-elect that person. Get them
Right.
out. You know, it's insane. You know what I was thinking when the protests began, and how the riot police come out there, and then it begins peacefully. Every time it begins peacefully, you know, every single time. And then the police incite violence, and they escalate the frustration, and they make people lose their minds. Obviously, if your heart is shredded and rubber bullets and tear gas start flying and batons start flying, yeah, expect aggression, expect conflict, expect violence, expect looting, expect riots, all of it, right? So this is my idea. If a protest of that magnitude starts, whether it's Occupy Wall Street or Black Lives Matter or anything of that magnitude, that's a hostage situation in my eyes. These protesters have taken that area hostage, whether you like it or not, because, like I said, if things go south, that area gets burnt. It's hostage. You might not think it. You might think, oh, it's just a bunch of hippies or a bunch of bleeding hearts. No, they got that city on lock. They got it. It's theirs. Either they remained peaceful and the city could sleep at night, or it's going to go up in flames. It's hostage. So treat it like that. Instead of the front line being riot gear, tactical officers, send in a hostage negotiator. Just like in the movies. A guy rolls up his sleeves, or a woman, I got no weapon, approaches the front line of the protest. Look, guys, the police are assembling behind me. I can't stop what they're going to do if things get out of hand, but I'm here to see what it is you want. How can we talk? What's the dialogue? Maybe make it a live stream. Maybe, you know, set up a portable conference room. To have a dialogue. It has to start there. Not with two opposing forces getting closer and closer and closer until some asshole antagonist on either side, you know, lights it up. Because it just takes one person, one police officer or one protester to do the wrong thing, and then it's fireworks. It's out of control, you know, and then there's a million more victims now. So my idea is that there should be a deep, deep amount of respect for these protests. It's a constitutional right. It's the only way a democracy can function. So if you have thousands of people assembling to air their legitimate grievances, then that needs to be heard. And not just heard by whomever can get it in an earshot from the bullhorn, but broadcast it. Let people,
Yeah.
why, people, aren't people curious? They want to know, right? You know? I mean, back in the day, you have a sign, you know, that's how you kind of let people know what you're protesting. We're in 2020. Why do we have to have a sign? Why can't there be live streams, network television, interview these people straight away, as soon as it jumps off, you know? And if it's reasonable, there'll be no need for use of force. Of course, no solution is going to be met at that time, but if there's someone representing the state saying, we want to help you, we want to hear what you need to say, and we will listen as long as it takes for us to fully understand it, and for us to sort out a compromise and work towards a goal together. Why would anything become a riot if that's the initial stages of a protest, of dialogue? How could it spin off into a riot? You
Yeah.
know?
I think the bloodthirst of the people and the police and the anger is what prevents that from happening.
That's why you
It's
send in the sisters. You send in the biggest hearts amongst us. Community leaders should be on, have that bat phone.
yeah.
Protester pops off. Well, who are the community leaders in that area? They should be identified. The police should know. The state should know. Everyone should know. These should be heroes in the community. They shouldn't just be marginalized voices. They should have a large platform. If the community believes in these people, and they're the ones that are giving guidance and being role models for those living there, put them up, and then send in the people who have big hearts amongst us, psychologists, doctors, nurses, I don't know, authors, whoever is up for the job. These people get together. Yeah, you're right. There's a bloodthirst. It's like the Game of Thrones. Everybody wants revenge and death, and it's like a sport.
Yeah.
And it's like, we got you back, but that's not. Everyone's going to be blind. Everyone's going to be crippled. Everyone's going to be destroyed. It's insanity.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw my post on Instagram, but I talked about something called the Boogaloo Boys.
I caught that, but I still don't know what that is.
They're basically a anarchist group with guns who are looking for a civil war and want to protect protesters from the police, but also want there to be a revolutionary war again between the races. So it's a really bizarre cross section of people because it's not just it's militia people of all different backgrounds. So you have black men, white men, women, everybody. They're more like libertarian background. It's kind of ambiguous, but they're ready for war, I guess, with their weapons and show up to the protest with their weapons, and scare everybody. And they're just like, they don't know why they scare people, the protesters, but the reason they said here in our town that the police threw out the tear gas and stuff and the rubber bullets was because of them, because of the Boogaloo Boys or whatever. But they were gone by that time, by the time that the police threw the tear gas. So there's other elements that are coming together at these protests as well, not just angry people that are looking to stop racism. There's other elements.
Right.
And there's also, unmarked police just in black, but they had all the gear. They didn't have any names, are also showing up.
Yeah, there's a lot of undercover officers. I saw a collection of photos identifying them because they were all wearing the same white band on their arm so they can identify each other in the crowds. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there. There's provocateurs, there's undercover police, there's militia people. And there might even be foreign elements, interested in destabilizing the United States. I mean, the United States has done it for a long time, destabilizing, other nations.
I feel that I left a comment somewhere on some picture, and I got a lot of replies saying talking about the white versus black thing, and I'm like, I didn't say anything about white people. I'm talking about the police, and the whole, it was an angry reply, and I thought, this is such a weird reply. Is this for real person, or is this like a robot?
Yep.
That's like saying, because they were very accusatory towards me, and they said, you are the problem. You are the one that makes things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about white cops, and I'm like,
Bots.
obviously, yeah, bots.
Bots. There's a lot of them.
Yeah,
Thousands of these
I've never
bots.
come across one before.
Yeah.
Like
Or
it was,
knowingly came across one. Yeah.
oh,
We
right, or
we may
knowing.
all have numerous times without knowing it, you know?
Yeah,
But yeah,
but I
that's a
felt like it
tactic.
was trying to
Like
egg me
inflame
on.
it. Yeah, sure. That's yeah, and who knows who's behind that? It could be foreign elements, it could be God knows, nobody knows. And that's why, you know, it's like people should just focus on dialogue with people who are open for it, you know?
Yeah,
And the anger thing is not opening any doors. It's not helping. So if you want to confront your parents, maybe they're saying some racist stuff around the kitchen or whatever, then confront them. But if it spirals into that angry place, there's not much hope there. So
no,
somebody has to be the bigger person and say, okay, what you just said is inflammatory, it's derogatory, it's flaming me, it's gaslighting me, whatever. If you can refrain from that, I would love to continue. But if not, we'll have to do this on another day when you're ready, and just because people are filling their hearts with such anger and such rage, and it might be with a fucking robot.
yeah,
It's such a tragic thing, to be manipulated like that. And it's
yeah,
happening maybe to thousands or hundreds of thousands of people without them
yeah.
even knowing it. Maybe they think they're fighting the good fight, but the good fight is not fought with anger. The
Oh
good
my
fight is
goodness.
not fought with rage.
Imagine if yeah. What if I was, um, let's say anti-police and anti-white? I would have bitten that bait immediately.
Right? Yeah.
And it would have been like fighting with a robot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is tragic. That's so sad. And I'm sure that happens to a lot of people. And you keep feeding your own, it's this, what is it, self-fulfilling prophecy. Because
Yeah.
you're like, I knew it. I was
I
talking
knew
to
it.
someone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because everything that they were commenting was like trigger after trigger after trigger. And I'm like, this can't, this can't be real. This can't
Mm-hmm.
be like someone's actual retort or opinion.
Totally.
You
Yeah.
know, this it's all inflammatory things over and over again.
Yeah. You know? And it doesn't make you a big person to shut somebody down who's dumb. You know?
Yeah.
If you think someone is dumb, then you win. That's enough. Leave it there. But you got to shut them down. And who wants to
Hmm.
hear that? It's garbage. I mean, who was I listening to? I can't remember. But over this last week, I've heard a lot of people speak on it. And somebody was saying that when you do the right thing and you go out there and you help the community or you try to educate your fellow friends or family or so on and so forth, and you're guided by love, um, it's it's actually far more rewarding to you than it is the person you're helping. The benefits become clear pretty quickly when you're going down that road of love, when you're acting out of your heart.
Hmm.
And the person says something like, "You'll be the superstar at Thanksgiving dinner." If you have an anecdotal story to share of how you lifted someone up, how you mentored someone, how you helped. Really? Tell me more. The benefits become clear, and it's almost self-serving to do the right thing. It's almost an act of selfishness to do the
Hmm.
right thing. But doing the wrong thing, meaning anything out of anger, and we're human beings. I get angry too, but I pretty much regret it every single time. It never really advances my mission here on this planet Earth. It doesn't really help.
Yeah. I've been very cognizant of not using my words when I'm angry.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll say, I'm sure everybody might say like the worst shit
Mm-hmm.
when you're angry, and that you want to say because it means because it makes you feel good, and you want to attack someone, and you want to like get
Mm-hmm.
them. But then when you're not angry anymore, you feel like really bad and you don't believe those things and you can't take it back.
Yeah,
So
right.
I've been very cognizant of not going to that place when I'm talking with the people I love, not trying real, not to say the horrible stuff.
Right.
No, being aware, like I'm thinking horrible things and I'm going to say something horrible. Let me retreat and be more aware of what's
Mm-hmm.
going on. I'm not in control right now. My anger is
That's
in control.
totally. And that's why I believe everybody needs that special someone who will listen to them say the craziest shit. Because anytime, I don't know, I'm angry, the only way out of it is when somebody will just listen to my rant and not judge me, not offer advice, but just listen until I'm exhausted, until it's all that vile bullshit gets out, you know? And it doesn't have to have any satisfaction. The satisfaction is
Right.
getting it out, purging it from your system. So all you
Yeah.
need is a good friend, family member, whomever, who will just be patient enough to listen and selfless enough to not put their, but you wouldn't think that way if they're blah, 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 or whatever it is.
I
Nobody
have to admit,
needs advice at that time.
yeah,
Nobody
I have
needs
a
to be
hard
told what
time
to do.
with that.
You know, what you
Yeah.
need is someone to just listen, because if you can get it all out, you immediately, after it's all out, feel, slightly embarrassed.
Right.
You know, and then you get
Yeah.
guided by your Jiminy Cricket, your consciousness, which wakes back up. You know, because basically the anger was like putting a pillow over its fucking head. You know,
Poor
and
Jiminy.
once that anger gets out, Jiminy's like, "Oh god damn, I couldn't." Thank you. You know, I'm back, and can put you back on the you know right path, because anger is so blinding.
It
It
really
renders
is.
you like deaf and dumb. Like you're just no better than like a I don't know. You're a bad apple. You're not good. It's not
No.
helpful to
And
anyone.
if you want to think like metaphysical or something, like maybe spiritual, like in that moment, your brain is occupied by a negative demonic
Like a demon.
thing,
Yeah, pretty
demon in
much.
you.
Yeah.
You have to
So
like purge it out.
so that demon is awful, right? So
Yeah.
anyone who's provoking or antagonizing another person so that demon arises in their head is an asshole. Stop
Yeah.
it. You know, and I've been there, you know, when I was younger, I thought it was
Yeah.
fun to razzmatazz and to tease, you know, oh, we're friends, it's just a joke, you know what I mean? And that's true for some people. Some people can't operate on that level because it's like understood implicitly that we're totally joking. And the best people at that are comedians. From my understanding, you know, in the green room or in the back room, comedians shred the fuck out of each other, and they don't have any sort of boundaries. They'll talk about the worst shit in another person's life to get a
Yeah.
laugh. But it's
Yeah.
kind of like a culture, you know, that
Right.
they possess. But most other people are not equipped to hear awful shit thrown their way, you
Yeah.
know. And luckily for me, you know, it's a learning process, and that's why we can't give up on anybody. Because there was a time in each and every one of our lives where we were the problem. It might have been a little problem, might have been a big problem, but we've been a problem. And if there was a malicious, militant group who thought that that was the biggest problem in the world, whatever it was you were representing, you know, they would kill you, right? So we've all been in that position. Some of us lucky that that group of, you know, torch-bearing people weren't there.
Yeah.
You know, so let's just stop it. You know, especially if we're old enough. You know, you got to give younger people a little room to catch up. You got to give certain groups of people, certain marginalized groups of people. I mean, anger and fear, it's a hell of a drug, you know? And some people are addicted
Oh
to it, you know?
yeah.
And they're looking for it, right? And it's pretty easy to find, you know, because most people, they have a hair trigger. You say the wrong thing, and it's like, ah! You know, you see these whatever freak out videos coming out of
Yeah.
whatever Starbucks or whatever, and the woman's like, ah, freaking out. It's like, be gentle, you know? Like, let's not send people over the damn
Yeah.
edge. What?
Yeah.
Why are we enjoying that? What is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a deficiency and a malady from not being able to self-love.
Weird, right? Like we've seen this like age of the epic fail or whatever, you know, like and
I
it's
love
like
those videos though.
yeah, I mean, you know, I love some of them too. Some of them though are a little dark, you know.
No,
But the
I don't like
the
it when people get hurt or anything like that.
the
I have
best
to
ones
reheat my
are
coffee.
the
So
yeah, the best fail videos are the ones that incorporate some successes as well.
yeah,
Like you
fail
get
wins.
a little balance there, you know.
Yeah.
But a steady diet of just watching people fail is there's something wrong there.
No, it's messed up. Yeah, you have to have some fail wins.
Yeah.
What the only fails that I can watch that are fail are docks, uh boat docking accidents, because
What's that all about?
it's always like the boat dock people, like you know the dude with the dock and the big car. He's like driving like backwards and like not looking, probably drunk. It's like, oh, I don't know, my boat's now underwater and so is my truck. Oh, I don't know.
And
So
then somebody
that's
roll up and say, "You stupid ass motherfucker! Don't you know how to drive?"
yeah,
Oh, guess what? You made him angry now? Oh, surprise.
yeah,
Yeah. It's so funny too because so often um you see those videos or those experiments where it's like something crazy bad is happening and there's like the undercover camera and it's a setup bad thing and nobody
yeah.
does anything or whatever, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
It, it's weird, but I don't know if that is like necessarily um, like a like an aspect of humanity that can't go away. I think it must be learned that hey, you have all the power. You don't need to have the permission of other people to do the right thing, right? Even if it seems wrong to the majority, if your heart knows it's right, then you ought to do something about it. And again, that doesn't mean throwing a rock, you know? That is very seldom the right thing to do. But if you feel like there's a deficiency in love in the room and there's something bad happening to someone and they don't deserve it, you know, bring the love in, right? If there's something horrible, we don't need more horrible. We need to restore the balance, you know, and people can be taught that, taught to be brave, taught to do the
Yeah.
right thing. Now, in the case of George Floyd being brutally murdered, that's not easy. And I'm not suggesting that people put themselves in a precarious, you know, by assaulting a cop, which most likely will end up in their murder as well. You know what I mean? So that's a tricky thing. But there's a lot of things that happen in society every day where if you hear someone using a derogatory term based on race or gender or sex or religion, it's not okay. It's just not
Yeah.
cool anymore. It has to stop. It's not cool. I mean, I remember when I had this shitty job and this guy I worked with would make rape jokes all the time and it was making me so fucking sick. So I had to like break the whole damn thing down, you know? And after
Yeah.
a while, it stopped. It stopped. You know, and the same thing happened with this same person in relation to gay jokes, kill them, whatever, you know. And I broke
Wow.
it all down, you know, again, to like it's very like little teeny tiny bits. And then I remember months after that, I remember somebody came up in there and said something about being gay or maybe this person's gay, and that guy chimed in and said, "Oh, I don't have any problem with gay people." I was like, "Oh." So people can be taught, even the dumbest motherfuckers, because this guy was one of those dumbest motherfucker guys. All right? Really dumb. But people can be taught Because you know what? There is a truth. It's not just opinion. It's
Mm-hmm.
demonstrable. You can prove it. It's, you know what I'm saying? You can break it down. There's proof to defend, these arguments about race or gender or whatever. Everyone can be defended, in terms of what their sexual orientation, religious, it's okay to have those beliefs. It's not okay to kill people. It's not okay to hurt people. But if you're not killing and hurting anyone, leave them alone. Leave them alone. So that's why I love that Daryl Davis guy.
Yeah.
Because he took it a step further and went to people that were hurting people and educated them. They weren't just dumb, they were violent. And he flipped the script on them. And the only way he did it was through love and compassion. It's amazing what you can do with the power of love. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's difficult to achieve that.
Especially if you have none.
Yeah, if you have none and you are on the other side where you are feeding your demon all the time and your demon's nice and fat, it's even harder to get that motherfucker out of there.
But what's crazy is that television's got it all twisted and people are like so desperate to get their hands on more money. Switch it up. Look for more love. You can actually get it. You can be rich with love. Anyone.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity for everyone to be rich with love. But everyone to be rich with money, it's not possible. Not right now. Yeah. So give up on that fucking antiquated dream and go after the love. It's achievable. It's a possibility. And you will be rich. Richer than a lot of quote unquote rich people.
Yeah.
And it's like the television's got it all twisted. Like we were talking about last week, how incels, not only are they desperate for sex, but they want to have like a hot chick on top of it. Right?
Yeah.
That's fucking, where did they learn that? Man, if what you want is love, it doesn't have to come in a certain kind of package. It's actually invisible. It's like you can't even see it. So why are you looking for it in a certain figure or color or whatever? That's crazy. It's nuts. I think people need to learn how to achieve love. Everyone's after like achieving wealth and riches and fame and all this bullshit, which often leads to substance abuse and other terrible things because without the love element, all that shit is worthless.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because love is like for free. You just have to be a nice person and just go out there. That's it. You know what I mean? And people got to get over it. Get over it of like what the ideal vision of love looks like and all that, Like you'll feel better if you just have love. Whether it's fat, tall, skinny, short, plump, it doesn't matter. If you got no love, go get you some. Guess what? It's going to make you feel better. You feel a lot better about what you're angry about. It's troubling. It's crazy, I mean, we're speaking from a place of privilege, I guess, maybe, right?
Absolutely.
We've got love. So. We've got good friends, Yeah. We know what it's like to be cared for. We know it. We know that the world is not heartless. We know it. There's a lot of people that don't know that.
Yeah.
And they might hear what we're saying and be like, go fuck yourself, you delusional prick.
Yeah.
But I want to hold their hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's no easy answer.
No, there isn't. There is no easy answer because it's not a one solution kind of thing. What I'm talking about with the whole love thing is just one element of it. Then you got to get the brains up in there. People that get smart, go after getting smart. Get after it. If you got love but you're dumb, then go get you some information. Go get you some education. Because we need that sort of element too, because nobody's going to reelect or put the right people in those positions of district attorney and state attorney just with love. We need the
Like,
brains. You
yeah,
know, all of it has to expand. It has to be righteous. It has to be for the right reasons. It has to be good. You know,
yeah,
I mean, that's why. I mean, for example, during the whole pandemic, right? You got some people that spent the whole damn time, 3 months of lockdown, trying to prove it ain't true. The whole damn time. Like, that's all they did was consume every conspiracy, every sort of article about, and then pointing it out to everybody else. Look, why is it like the numbers? It's all wrong. It's all this, and that. But what are you gaining? What are you doing? Like, if you got free time in the year 2020, go after some love or go after some education. That's going to bring you
mm-hmm.
closer to an actual goal. Because I'm sorry, if you're decoding the pandemic to find out if it's real or not, what's your goal? Is there a finish line to that?
No,
So
you can go on forever.
It goes on forever. And even if you figured it all out, what do you get out of that?
Yeah,
You get heartache and stress
yeah,
because you ain't fixing nothing with that. You know, during this, I mean, that's why I love what we're doing, because we're using some of the free time that we got from this pandemic to do something, to put
yeah,
something out there, you know, to kind of connect and to build bridges, you know, and maybe, you know, perhaps feel some love or generate some, you know.
yeah. I hope so. That's why I come on here, to fill people with hope and love, and see that, you can communicate with another person, even if you don't always agree exactly the same, don't have the same opinion or anything. Like, you and me don't always have the same opinion on stuff, but
Totally
we can
not.
still have a conversation and still be friends, and um, have shown how to have a long lasting friendship, in a way, like, communicate for a long period of time, have important experiences together, um, give each other room to just
Mm-hmm.
be themselves. Um,
And
you know,
we've never allowed for either your political beliefs or my political beliefs to ever define our relationship. We've
true,
never allowed that. And
true.
we've had differing opinions,
Yes,
by all means, you know?
yes,
But we've never said, well, now he's that guy or she's that guy, or girl, or whatever. Never.
true.
I
No.
know you, Sabrina. You're awesome. I love you. You can tell
Oh,
me tomorrow that you're voting for XYZ, QPT. I don't give a fuck. Right? It doesn't matter. You can tell me tomorrow that you're converting to XYZ religion. I don't care. It's not you. It doesn't define you. Even if you told me some crazy shit, like you were on the side of these crazy officers or whatever, I still would not allow that to define who you are. You're so much more than that. And so is
yeah,
everybody else.
yeah,
So is everybody else. There's a lot of people that voted for Trump. There's a lot of people that voted for Obama. There's a lot of people that wanted Hillary Clinton. And a lot of those people are awesome and have kids and have friends and have brothers and have sisters and are doing all sorts of things. You know, there's bad everywhere and there's good everywhere all the time.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. I think the one advantage we have in our generation, and I've heard other people kind of talk about this, is that we have nuance.
Yes.
We're not um like very like binary. We're not like this or that, good or bad. We're able to have like flows and ebbs and nuances, and like little, like, you could be into this and you could be also into that. We're not into putting people in like categories, um and you know yeah, just having people stuck in a box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And likewise to you, Joe, I know that you had different political beliefs than I did, and uh, maybe different in the way that I like thought. Oh, maybe we would have the same um, like political beliefs, because we share so many other things in common. Um, but when I realized that you had a different political belief than myself, like, I didn't think I'm going to write you off. Like, you're I'm done with you. Like I just that's not how I think, about
Yeah.
people.
My political
That's
beliefs do not inspire my dance moves. Separate. It's fucking separate.
Yeah, and I was surprised to learn that it's hard for people to be able to separate that. Um, like my family, they have a different political belief than myself, or religious beliefs, or any other beliefs. But I still love them. I still talk to them.
Mm.
This is not going to change anything.
That's the thing where I feel like with people that are like all lives matter, right? These people. It's very upsetting. People are very distressed about hearing all lives matter. And
Mm.
rightfully so, okay? Because it's missing the entire fucking point that
Yeah,
Black Lives Matter is the same damn thing. That's the same, right? But there's obviously like a separation of the thought processes, right? One is very defensive and the other one is very um, offensive. I don't know how to frame it, but it's the same. There's only like a hair separating these two, And it's like if people could just take the moment and be patient, if someone says all lives matter, be like, yeah, that's what we're saying.
yeah, yeah,
And then you're like, what do you mean? You're saying Black Lives Matter? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All lives matter. Black
Right.
lives too. Right. They all matter.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what you mean? Oh, good. Black lives matter. It would be that easy, most likely, in most cases, unless the person is using all lives matter to hide their racism. That's another thing,
Right.
right?
Right.
If they're
Yeah.
saying it like inflammatory, but if it's like somebody's mama who usually is good at just making spaghetti on Sundays, and she's like, "But all lives matter." Don't go hating on her. She
Yeah.
just doesn't get it. She doesn't understand.
Yeah.
Take a moment.
Giving It's also uh maybe taxing to give people the benefit of the doubt. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's helpful to not think of people of just like totally as evil, like, oh,
Yeah.
they're just evil. Just give them a benefit of the doubt. Like maybe they just don't get it.
Kind of like how black people have been doing for white people forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty easy if you're, the if you have this legacy of slavery and stories have been passed down. It's pretty easy to think all white people are evil. Pretty damn easy. Pretty goddamn easy considering the atrocities of slavery, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the benefit of the doubt has been applied pretty generously towards white people,
Yeah.
and thank God because it's what's brought us together, you know, because if there wasn't that benefit of the doubt early on, way before we were born, then how the hell how would it ever have ever worked? I mean, white people were probably so scared when slavery ended. Good, bad, all the white people were probably terrified, right? They just thought they would be victims of indiscriminate violence, even if they were good, right? That's crazy. I can't even imagine when slavery ended. That's insane. What a transition. That's insane, right? But it happened, and over time, and it takes time, we have a society that's beautiful where there's an incredible harmony amongst most people within the United States. People love each other. It's an incredible melting pot. It's so diverse. It's so incredible what's become of that, and it's because of the patience and the tolerance. I heard another, I can't remember his name, but an actor, and he said, "I'm angry right now, but I'm not gonna speak that way because that'll frighten a lot of white people." And I thought about that. I'm like, that's fucking
That's
deep, man. That's fucking deep. Because white
I
people go off when they're angry. But
yeah.
we got to give a great deal of respect and credit to these very patient, very tolerant people amongst us who are giving the benefit of the doubt that white people will do the right thing. That's
It's
incredible.
it's but I hope that that's true, but once slavery ended, it wasn't like everybody was free and everything was good. You
No.
still had, Jim Crow laws and um
And the prisons were
the
built to lock up
prison.
black people, to put them back to work. 13th
Yeah,
Amendment, the loophole that puts them back into slavery once they're incarcerated.
right.
Yeah.
So I think maybe individually you can give people the benefit of the doubt, but there's also these institutionalized racist entities
Mm-hmm.
that cannot be given any kind of doubt. Like it's very clear what they're there for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, I would say not, to still be critical and still be questioning institutions and why they're there. But individually, in a personal sense, I think you can give people the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, because I think individually people are good, but when the groupthink starts happening, um, and you start thinking of like groups like as evil,
Mm-hmm.
then that's when we end up with like these large prison systems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the prison system is in shambles. What a fucking joke. Everybody on the street is under surveillance all day long. But apparently in prison you can sell drugs, you can kill people, you can blackmail people, you can assault people, you can rape people and get away with it. What? How is it not controlled within prison through surveillance and prosecuting the ones that are perpetrators and protecting the innocent? How is that not available? That's insane to me that you have to knowingly go into prison knowing that you're innocent and knowing that there's no way to protect yourself. There's no one to
It's
go to. There's nowhere to hide. And that if anything happens to you, don't expect justice. That's insane.
it's
That's
insane that we have
insane.
these police not getting arrested after they shoot somebody.
Insanity. Yeah, insane. It's a crime. How is it? What? How do you not get arrested?
Yeah,
That's
nothing.
insane. Let the maybe there are reasonable excuses for an accidental homicide here and there, but that'll be decided in court,
Hmm.
not in this moment. That's murder, criminally charged. Period. That's it. Now you have to prove that you're innocent in court. That's it.
Yeah.
And all of these, it's so crazy how so much of this has gone on behind the scenes. All of these acts of violence committed by police officers over all of these years. It's so sick. It's so crazy. And I wonder too. With the whole defund the police thing, like, what would life be without the police department? Can we regulate ourselves? Can we just be
I
civil
mean,
at one point? Can we
I
figure it
think
out?
I think there just should be more help on the police department. And I'm basing this on what our commissioner proposed, that it not be just people that will shoot you if you do something wrong. It will be
Mm-hmm.
where you can get assistance if you have trouble, because a lot of the times when people get arrested or get in trouble, it's because they are in need
Mm-hmm.
of something,
Right.
because maybe they have a mental health issue. Like we have here in Athens, there was a lady who was with a knife, just trying to stab like a police officer.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah, she's coming after him, and they shot her like right there and then. Obviously, she was having a mental health issue.
Right.
She's coming after the police with a knife. Like you could have apprehended her, in a
Mm-hmm.
different way, um, and help somebody that was having a mental health crisis.
Yeah. Same thing with
Um,
that naked guy that was assaulting people on the street. You
oh,
know,
okay.
probably doped out of his head. I don't know, but yeah, it's an aggressor. Put him down. I don't know. There's got to be a better way.
There
You
has
know,
to be. I
you
mean,
can't just
it's
use violence as a tactic all the
no.
time. It's insane.
Yeah, or you just kill someone. You
No.
can't kill someone just because they seem like threatening at that one time when you know that you could easily apprehend them in a
Mm.
different way.
It's so
Um,
crazy too because every single time they use rubber bullets or tear gas, it makes things worse. Every single time. I don't know if I've ever seen a video where I was like, "Oh, that was a good idea. That worked out." I don't think
it's
ever.
just instill fear in people.
That's crazy. That there's that divide that at those moments people are treated like animals, like wild animals, vicious animals. Like, I can see using tear gas if a pack of wolves is coming up to our tent. Yeah. Rubber bullets, spray the hell out of them, you know? But if it's
Well, that's
people there with a sign, or
well, that's
shout,
why.
even if they're shouting.
Yeah, but they were told that those people are enemies. The police, I think, were told you got to shoot these protesters. They're no
But
good.
but it makes it worse. I mean, 15 people have died since the protest began, right? It's like,
Well, I know, but the police have a mindset of the enemy. There's always someone
right,
that they're after.
that us versus them thing.
Us versus them. Like
And people
that's
don't realize that the us is everyone. There's no them.
yeah,
We all have to live together.
yeah.
You throw shit in this person's yard, expect shit in your yard tomorrow. Like, you can't just commit an act of violence and expect the cycle to, that's it. This was a clean cut.
There's a story Michael always tells me. Um, Let me see if he's around. So here is my husband, Michael, and he always tells me a story um, related on how people are people.
How
And
people are people.
yes, and Fred Birchmore had an example.
He wrote an autobiography.
Mm.
Back in the 40s, he bicycled around Europe, across Sweden, and all over the world. And when he went to Afghanistan, he chose to bicycle also across Afghanistan. He's a UGA alumni, and here in Athens, we have walking trails, and a portion of the parks are devoted to him. He was a lifelong athlete, and he and his family have remained part of UGA for the entirety of his life. He passed away about 10 years ago. But when he went to cross Afghanistan, it at that point, as it remains to some extent, was a very violent area. And he was told that he would not successfully be able to cross and be safe. And so he took a method of crossing that he later explained was partly attributed his success to luck and partly just to his character. But he would ride into each village that he found along the way, and he would get off his bike and look for the most imposing person he could find, the person who seemed like they were in charge and that they were the individual that would be most likely to threaten him. And he would go up to them and give them a hug, embrace them. And he said he was taken in to each village along his trip by each tribe and treated with hospitality and kindness. And each morning he would set out and he would be told, don't go to the next village. They will kill you. Turn back here because you made it this far, but the next village. And he kept on going and he crossed all of Afghanistan. I want to say it was the 40s. It may have been in the 50s, but he was one of the first people to do so. And the only person I know who did so on a bicycle, which I think helps because having studied other travel accounts, people who travel on bicycle, on foot, or on motorcycle generally are more successful with connecting. I imagine horses too, but I've never really read kayakers. Kayakers have had a good accounts of connecting with the kind of the indigenous people of an area because it's immediately perceivable that you are vulnerable and that you've put yourself into this in a genuine manner rather than being somebody who flies in on a helicopter and gets out with armed guards and is obviously not approachable or part of this for a genuine reason.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
Frederick Birchmore's story.
Yeah. And so what the reason why I brought it up is because each village said, hey, careful, the next village is violent.
Mm-hmm.
So each village had the perception that the other person was violent. And we still have that now, like, oh, careful, them over there is violent, but there is no them. It's
It's us.
Always,
Yeah.
It's always us.
Always
Right.
us. You can even see that when you look at accounts of history, when we see in anthropological accounts the question, what were they doing? What were the people who built the Sphinx doing? What were they doing? When the question is really, what were we doing? What were we part of that we have forgotten? Where's our failure to connect with our humanity and our history? because it's never them and it's never what were they doing. It's always what were we doing. And it's embarrassing to admit, I think, that we forget our history so easily, so quickly, and that it's not retrievable because we feel like we can go back and yeah, it's okay to wipe out these people and these accounts. We can figure out what happened later, but then we find that was the history. That was our history, and we can't put it back together. And we remain lost, and we remain with these gaps between cultures simply because we've chosen to create those gaps and create that ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, our special guest, Michael. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like I didn't know about the Black Wall Street fires, for example. That happened like 100 years ago.
What is the Black Wall Street fires?
Um, Gosh, I want to say in Oklahoma, but I could be wrong. Let me look it up real quick because I just learned about this. But there was a Black Wall Street, and it was burned down
You're
100 years ago.
you're lagging, I think, because you're searching.
What?
You're using the internet,
Oh,
and I think it's taking away the power from the stream.
oh, okay. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. In 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma's Greenwood district, known as Black Wall Street, was one of the most prosperous African American communities, and it was burned down by white people and looted by white people at the
Wow.
time. Yeah, and I didn't know about this. I've never heard about this.
I've never heard about that either.
Right, and it hasn't really been part of education, general education, which is disgusting and awful.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be more educated. We have to keep asking questions and looking into our histories because it's been tried to be suppressed on purpose.
Yeah, and it's it's easy to stay in your comfort zone, but no magic happens there, So it's
Yeah.
like you got to go outside of the comfort zone and stop looking for people that look like you or listen to the same music as you or whatever similarities, that you find that somehow designate the person as of interest, right? I mean, people that you know nothing about who look totally different than you are actually way interesting because of that fact that you don't know anything about them,
Right.
And I think like that's something that I've been pretty good with over the years, and it's the sole reason probably why I have found so much pleasure from all the shitty jobs I've had. I've had a lot of jobs, and I would go home very happy from those jobs, feeling very rewarded, and it certainly wasn't from the duties and responsibilities from the job. It was from servicing the customer as best as I could. As looking at each and every person that would walk through the door of whatever building or establishment I was in and treating them the best way I could. And it would make me feel great. It would make them feel great. And that was my job. It was always secondary to me what the actual duties and responsibilities were. The primary was the colleagues and the customers, And I think people discredit a lot human interaction, right? They go into their shitty job and they're just like, shitty. Shitty. And I always look at those people and I think, man, they're really missing out. Because I understand the job is shitty. I get it. I've had shitty jobs too. But any job can be good if you get yourself into that perspective of it's an opportunity to talk to these people that you would have otherwise never spoken to.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think that's how you gain a real insight into the value of human life, is by just addressing each person you come across as if they deserve the dignity and hospitality and generosity as anyone else would, and not define it by their appearance or by their smell or whatever it is. I've often been surprised how my opinions change over time. I remember there was a time when I used to think like, oh, the worst people on the planet are rednecks. Oh my God, I would never want to wind up in some redneck village. Oh my God, I'd be so frightened. Like, these are the scariest people. Oh my God. And then I come to discover, well, no, they're not, you know?
Yeah.
And the same goes for everybody, you know? And those conclusions have only arisen from, you know, taking advantage of the situation you're at when you're at work, right? There's great potential there to learn a lot about life. But you have to be open and humble and have some humility. Of course, if a customer treats you like crap, I mean, I've had my fair share of dosing that shit in return too, you know, with childish sorts of revenge type angles. But if someone's just there, a person, I swarm them with like all the attention and I meet and beat the expectations. And it's like, yay, I can feel good about myself. I learned something potentially, maybe even make a friend. And now this person comes back, it's always smiles, always hellos. It's a vibe where, you know, I'm after. And that vibe can be found probably even in prison if you try hard enough, maybe, I don't know. But in the craziest, darkest of places, you know. I remember during Occupy Wall Street, I always used to say like, well, if we all get, you know, picked up, scooped up, at least we're in good company, you know? Well, you know what I mean? I don't know. Make the best of it, you know? Even with crazy stuff, I've told so many classrooms, because I teach English, how if I were ever to be in a plane crash, bank robbery, car accident, any of those things, those crazy things, I would definitely gain a lot of benefit out of it as long as nobody suffered or got killed and so forth, you know? If there's no victims, right? Mm-hmm. Then I'll most likely be appreciative of it because of the fascination of learning about this entirely new event, you know, firsthand experience, right? So if I can walk away from those situations and not have the burden of knowing that other people suffered, I'll be grateful for it. So I guess, long story short, is like, even the worst thing, if you look at it a different way,
oh yeah,
right, it could be the greatest thing.
Sure. I mean, here.
I mean, you hear it all the time. People that have like terminal illnesses and then they beat it, and it's like, oh my God, this new, like, it just all depends.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I've learned. I mean, I think I've had that, but I've learned that more with my disease.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if I ever have like, I don't know. Michael and I, when we first started dating, we went to a restaurant and we had terrible service. The food was terrible. And it almost felt like they hated us there. It was awful. But one thing that Michael said that he liked about me was that didn't sour my mood at all and didn't like make me angry or upset. I'm like, of course, like that. I love those opportunities. I love those opportunities when like things are going wrong, but everything's fine. No one's dying. You know, it's just like an inconvenience. Right. To be like, this is hilarious. Like this rice here is like, you know, hard as a rock. Like, can you believe it? Like, oh my God, everybody got a good tip. We paid our food. It was just an experience of like, we can't believe how bad everything is right now for the service and the food and experience. And we drove far and blah, 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 blah. And we just laughed at it because I'm not going to put myself in a hating mood where it could affect me physically because of my multiple sclerosis. And if I'm like really upset, that could actually trigger a relapse. Mm-hmm. So I can't go there. I can't get that angry. I can't like give in to that demon. Mm-hmm. If I can help it, I try really hard to not feed it. Don't feed the troll, kind of a thing.
Yeah, bravo.
Yeah, and it's a practice. It's not easy. People can do it if you practice.
It's learned. Yeah, you're taught or you just learn it as you go. But yeah, through practice, you can actually become that individual who can laugh if they're stuck in line for an hour or stuck in traffic, you know?
Yeah.
I remember that one time, it was years ago, I was in my apartment and I heated up some Indian food in the microwave and then like I dropped the plate and it was like a baby took a shit, like, but the baby was on the Gravitron, you know? It was like, It was such a mess. And in this split second, I went from, oh, to ha ha ha. And then I felt like I think I've mastered this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I actually had a smile on my face when I was cleaning it up, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because it was funny, because
Yeah.
it was hilarious,
Yeah. It's
you know.
absurd.
Yeah, it's absurd, you know, and to get riled up, anger, contempt, frustration, we're all victims of it. We all do it. We all fall in those traps, but it's a matter of how fast you can get yourself out of it and knowing how to get you. These are all learned things or taught
Yeah.
things, you know, like I was saying, like everyone just needs that one person they know they can call who will let them vent, let them rant, right? That's a learned thing. People don't realize it. Some people go knocking at the same door each time they have frustration, even though behind the door is no help, right? They go talk to this person and then they wind up in this verbal argument like, why don't you just listen? You know, like this whole thing. You
Right.
know, that person might be good for other things, but they're not good for that.
Right.
Find someone who's good at that and go there. Doesn't mean you have to write this person off. They're good at other things.
Right.
They make a fantastic lasagna, you know, or whatever. I don't know, but everybody has value. Everybody has
Yeah.
problems, right? It's just like a learned thing though of how to organize your friend group or your family and know who's who and what's what. Don't try to change everybody to fit your mold or whatever. Appreciate diversity, appreciate differences, you know, and if it's not life threatening, laugh.
Yeah.
That's all. Laugh. Everyone has a goofy uncle, aunt, sister, brother. Who's ringing my doorbell nonstop? I tell you, you would think if nobody answers, ah! No, it's funny. It's funny. Do you hear it?
Yeah, I do hear it.
Lordy, lordy. Let me go see.
I'm working on a Lucette.
Okay, it must have been very important. They're not there anymore. Okay. But honestly, like that's an example, you know? Like you can get enraged because somebody's interrupting you. How
Who's
dare they?
interrupting me?
Who's doing that?
Anger. Look, I'm
Yeah.
working on this.
That's not. It's well braided. What would you say? That's braiding? Is there a word for it?
It's called a Lucette cord. Lucette. Lucet. And you just do it with one hand, and it's so easy.
Oh, cool. That's another thing. People need hobbies.
Oh yeah, you need to do something with your hands.
Everybody needs
That's
a
why
hobby.
there was so much sewing before, and like you know,
TV
needlework
is
and
not
stuff
a
like
hobby.
that.
Watching TV is not a hobby.
No.
That's a form of entertainment. That's turning yourself off and letting this thing kind of take you on a flight of fancy.
And I would say maybe just have a limited amount of hours a day. Maybe, or have like 1 or 2 shows. I wouldn't binge. I think is bad for people. It doesn't help your brain. You're not supposed to be watching TV for that long.
And it takes the joy out of it.
And then you get addicted. Then it becomes an addiction. Like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And you're just like in this like addict phase where it's not even fun anymore. You're just addicted.
Yeah. There's no joy in it any longer.
Yeah.
You just have to see it.
Yeah, we usually stop at 2. Like the other day we tried to watch 3 and then like our subscription or whatever stopped working. We're like, that's probably a good thing. That's a sign. We need to stop.
I mean, that's the funny thing is that anybody that you consider like a role model, community leader or whatever, they're not watching a ton of fucking TV.
Right.
You know, they don't have time for a ton of fucking TV. Right?
Right.
And that's the modern day drug, right? It's getting people really sidetracked and off of a path towards any sort of success because they think it's normal, or people at large think it's normal to watch 6 hours of TV a day or whatever. You know, that's not how you can't be successful if you're doing that in any regard with relationships or with career paths or with hobbies or anything. It's impossible. And trust me, there's a lot of shows I hear about that I have to see, and I'm sure I would probably get a real kick out of some of them. But you know what? I just don't have the time. You know, I pick and choose, and I'm happy with what I have, and that's it. You know, and that's why, in one way, I'm kind of glad I'm not in the United States because I don't know about all the awesome shows out there. I don't know. I'm really pretty
I
in the
mean,
dark
really,
over here. I don't know.
everything's on Netflix. Nobody watches television that I know of, at least.
Apparently, there's a lot more out there because every time I link up with Americans, they're like, "Did you see this? Did you hear about that?" I'm like, "No, what's it? What is that show? Oh my god, that person! I would love that." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I'm missing it." But at
Really?
the same time, if I don't know about it, I can't miss it. You
See,
know?
I've always been like a weirdo though with like media and like pop culture. Like I like it, but I don't know all of it. Like I don't always know the like latest movie or anything like that. Like I've never been. I'm more into music really than movies. Like I'm more into like
Mm.
popular music, what's going on now with the kids,
Ugh.
than I am with movies.
I'm a big movie TV nerd. I'm pretty good at remembering the names of actors and stuff like that. I've always been
Mhm.
a fan. And I think earlier, though, when I was younger, music was a huge thing. But I think not living in the United States and not having like a peer group at arm's length to discuss music and what's happening, somehow it's hard to even, because there is no like Netflix of music. There's
Right,
Spotify and all that, but there's no Tiger King. Everyone's got to see the Tiger King, or nobody says that about music really.
right.
Music never takes that like chair where it's like, oh no, everybody's got to hear that. Like, not really.
Yeah, I don't know how I guess through how did I learn about stuff? I I don't know. I don't actually, and I'm trying to think. Like, I can't remember now. Like how I come across these. I have no idea.
That's funny.
I can't right now. I don't know how I learned about it.
Actually, I'll put it out there, like, because I do have a strong thirst and desire for jams, for new music to get under my skin and just like crawl, give me the
Yeah.
chills and send the chills up my spine. So last week, Melissa made a mix for me, totally all over it, digging the hell out of it. It's great. And anyone who has any recommendations, throw them in the comments below. That would be awesome. I'll listen and I'll let you know what I think because I love
Oh,
it. If I hear it like that tune, that song, that jam, then I just have to burn it the hell out. I'm that kind of guy. I have to burn it the hell out
oh
until
yeah.
I can't even stomach it anymore. Music is
I sent
definitely
you
a drug.
a link of a song that I like. I don't know if you
Oh, it
saw
was
it.
great. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. Awesome track. Awesome
E-
video
I
too.
I feel like they should play that song during protests to get like people like happy and hyped, but also like warrior, like uh
Warrior? You want people to
yeah,
get in a warrior?
like not war yeah, like a warrior like in um I guess a warrior you have to fight, but I mean like powerful, I guess.
Hmm.
You feel powerful when you hear that song. It's DJ Shub, Shub.
That's great. Really, really
Yeah.
cool song. I really enjoyed it.
Oh,
That's the thing though about music and protests. I remember during Occupy Wall Street, which I was heavily invested in at the time, and publicly spoke at every week, and created a newspaper in German and English, and passed out and distributed "Sang with the Priest." I was very into it. And I started losing my interest in it when the punks kind of took it over. And I remember they had sound systems hooked up to the truck that was leading the protest on the street, and they were blasting punk rock, which is cool. I like punk rock, but I know not everyone does.
ah,
And I thought,
yeah,
I don't like this. I don't like where this is going. It's it's not capturing all hearts, and I'm into protests that capture all hearts, that like represent something that's just so good you can't turn your back on it.
right.
And I
Yeah, I
think
guess
that's
I didn't. Yeah, I would imagine everybody would like, oh, that's a great song. It's true, people may not like it because you don't. Everybody doesn't like the same thing.
yeah. You froze up there for a second.
Oh,
I didn't hear what you said.
oh, it's true though with music, not everybody would like is gonna like the same
Mm.
thing with music. It's very like individual. You can't. I would think it would be like a song that brings everybody together, but not you. That's not a guarantee because you don't. Again, everybody doesn't like the same music.
That's true, but I don't know. There are certain songs out there that I think that probably everyone can get behind.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in a protest situation and you want to pump some music to, give people a little bit of that energy, that feeling, right?
I think that song would make that happen.
I think so too. I think there's also probably a bunch of squares out there that would be like, oh, these fucking teenagers, which is fine, I get it. But I think ideally, if you're protesting anything, you want people to join. So you want to have like a very, I don't know, appetizing or inviting situation, and just like there are certain places, whether they're restaurants or whatever, that are attractive to everyone across the board. They
Mm-hmm.
figured out some magic there. I think protests can also find that magic element somehow.
The
You know,
Fuddruckers.
the what? The Fuddruckers?
Fuddruckers.
Buttfuckers?
What?
What?
The Fuddruckers. Oh, because they figured it all out. Fuddruckers.
Did they? How so?
Right? Because isn't it like a popular restaurant? Everybody goes there. Fuddruckers.
I don't know. Is it
I don't know.
Fuddruckers? Is it that popular?
I thought that was the whole joke that everybody goes to Budfuckers, Fuddruckers. I thought that was the joke of the movie. It's such a popular restaurant like Starfucks.
Oh, I got you now. You're making a reference to Idiocracy. Got it.
Right. Yes. Right.
Right. Okay. And that's why it survived so long into the future, because they figured it out.
Yeah, they figured it out.
Ah, okay. Yeah, maybe so.
Fuddruckers.
Yeah, that's true. In the future, I guess, yeah. I don't know if they're having that such successes right now, but the thing about Fuddruckers that's just creepy to me is that they have a side of beef hanging in the window when you walk in. And I
Ew.
eat meat. I do. I like burgers, but I don't want to see a side of beef when I'm walking into the restaurant.
Is there a real beef?
Yeah,
Like a real?
they do the butchering there.
Oh, see, I don't
That's
know.
like the
I don't
thing, it's like fresh and all that. But I'd rather, the mystery's cool by me,
think-
It's cool.
Mystery meat.
That's another thing. Like, I'm sorry, if you're vegan, if you're vegetarian, if you're carnivore, leave everybody the fuck alone.
That's
Stop
one
bugging
thing.
everybody. Stop annoying everybody. Stop inciting frustration. Just make it attractive enough to make people want to do it. If that's your thing,
Yeah.
if you want people to do it and join whatever side, just make it attractive enough. It's not attractive to act like you're superior or act like you're better than someone else. I'm not into that shit.
I always said, I'm like, you do whatever you want. I'm not the one that's eating the meat.
Yeah,
Which I like, because it's like both it makes you think what you're doing, you're eating the meat, and also saying, I don't care. You do you, but I know not to eat that stuff.
which is a great thing to do, because you're like planting a seed. It's, it takes a while for a seed to germinate and whatever, blossom. And that's very cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of my life I've been trying to cultivate that open, non-judgmental attitude towards people.
Yeah.
And also reaching out to people that I don't agree with, that don't have the same views as me, if I can help it. Friends. But though my husband, we share a lot of the same views, but not everything. We don't agree on everything, but we share a lot of the same.
What's the biggest thing you don't agree on?
The biggest thing we don't agree on. Geez, I don't know. I can't think of something right now.
I'm asking that kind of tongue in cheek. I don't expect you to like
Okay.
toss a grenade into your kitchen right now and destroy the rest of your weekend. But it would be funny if you answered it.
I know. I was like, I don't know.
No, you're really good at that, Sabrina. I have to say, you're really good at that. I've always noticed how you've been like a jack of all trades when it comes to, speaking to diverse groups and so on. And obviously, you've always been a strong proponent of equality and equal rights amongst the LGBTQ community and otherwise elsewhere as well. and that's something that you've been doing since I met you, and obviously before I met you as well. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. You know, you've always been very good at that.
Yeah, and it's something I've worked on, And unfortunately, because of my disease, I'm not able to work in the nonprofit world as I was doing before and doing housing and stuff like that. But I feel like this podcast is kind of like that replacement where I can talk about um, the good fight to help people, hopefully.
I think over time, which is cool, you know, I think it takes time to like build a complete picture of somebody, and I think if we keep doing this over time, I think it will. I think it's really good. You know,
Yeah,
I think
I
you
hope
know,
so.
even on crazy subject matter, it's just good to talk and just to share, like you said, that even with a difference of opinions, like you can still have fun, you can still enjoy life. You don't have to be around people who think the same as you all the time. It's actually
Yeah.
boring. It's really boring,
It's
you know?
boring and it's detrimental. It doesn't allow you to grow. You get stuck. I feel like that's what racism does to people. You get stuck into this. You only know your family.
Mm-hmm.
You you end up marrying somebody that's down the street, and you all keep the same energy all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and you just get stuck
That's
in the
that's so
sameness.
true. That's so true. You kind of create like this mono culture, monotone, monocolor. Like everything is so predictable, and how do you advance with anything? Because you limit yourself to such a narrow space, and you forget that there's this entire outer space even existing because you're
Right.
not looking ever. And yeah, how can you possibly develop? To me, that's like why I like freedom. I think freedom is what is the condition people need in order to thrive, to be themselves, you know. And I think it's a kind of a, it's like a all of recorded or not recorded, all of human history is kind of this like big movie, huge damn 400,000 year long movie, you know, where it's like there was absolute freedom in the beginning, you know, and that was insane, right? It was like barbarism and tribalism and whatever isms, you know, and the strong survive or whatever. I don't know, you know. And then it was like, okay, we've figured some things out. We need to have a little bit more civilization here. Let's add a little civilization. Let's punish the perpetrators, and then we'll keep it safe for all of the other people. But it was, you know, misled by certain antiquated ways of thinking. So, you know, in terms of justice, it's been this like evolving picture of what justice even is meant to look like, you know? Whereas in the beginning it was justice for us, our tribe, you know, everybody else be
Right.
damned. And then it's like expanding, and it's been expanding to include more and more people as the years and the calendar pages turn, right? And it's like it's a human experiment, and in terms of like freedom, you know, like what we think of freedom, the right to pursue happiness, the right to speak freely, the right to defend yourself. Those freedoms are things that have been, I suppose, more or less, you know, written into stone with the Constitution, right? I mean, a lot of scholars and academics point to the United States Constitution as being like the premier document, right? Not to say that it's the perfect document, but in relation to all other documents, it's the best because it incorporates the most freedom, you know?
Yeah.
Still, there are limitations, still, there are things that need to be fixed, but that document is not that old, you know, and it was written by people who obviously weren't completely fully realized in terms of understanding the human spirit
Right.
or
Because of it.
humanity at all, right? So it's like
Yeah.
it's such a new experiment. But what gives me hope is that I mean we've come a long way since then, and there's a lot more work to be done. But it's not, you know, an overnight process. It's not a quick thing. but we're on the right path, you know? I mean, the protests, so many people from so many walks of life, and like we were saying in the beginning of this episode, like nobody disputes that that was murder. You know, you'd be hard pressed to find those people, and they would be in the smallest of numbers, you know? And that's progress.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that global opinion, I mean, like we're talking like the whole world
Yeah.
is viewing that as murder, right? As unacceptable. But I don't think that would have been the case even 20 years ago. Right?
People are trying it. People are trying to dismiss.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've come a long way, you know, because human beings have been around for hundreds of thousands of years, and maybe only in the last 10, 20, 50, I don't know, years can we all get behind the righteousness of that's not okay. Like you know, at large, the global society at large is on the same page or getting on the same page, you know? It doesn't mean that the laws reflect that opinion. It doesn't mean that the police departments reflect that opinion, but we're the world, you know?
Yeah.
We are the world. You know what I mean? So we can make a difference. We don't have to wait for, you know, Big Daddy President or Big Daddy God or whoever we used to wait for. Like, no, the world is a small place.
The bus drivers who refused to drive all the protesters who were gathered and arrested to be sent to jail, city bus drivers refused to drive.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like just an individual who decided, who knew this is wrong, and just did what they could.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big deal, you know, to just exercise your individual right to do the right thing.
Yep.
And you know, they risked their maybe their job, but they used their right to say no.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to drive all these people to jail. Like, I'm not going to be complicit with the system.
That's what's cool is that with social media and the internet, with all its flaws, it allows for acts of bravery and courage and the acts of the heart to be seen by the world at large, and acts of courage are contagious. You know? Because it's like, wow, I want to feel that too. I want to be the hero. I want people to admire me. I want to gain the respect of my peer group and feel the gratitude that those bus drivers are feeling. You know, it's just the only problem is that a lot of bad actors are also viewed as courageous. Courageous? How do you say it?
Courageous?
Courageous. Yeah, a lot of bad actors are also viewed as courageous, and people want to emulate that courage too. But it's a growing pain, you know, of sorting it out. And I think from what I saw through the protests globally is that people are going to lean towards righteous acts of courage and lift those up and be more cautious about courage that is wrapped up in anger or fear. You know, courage of the heart, you know, kind of like The Secret of Nim when Miss Brisby, you know, she held up the amulet, you know, and it's like burning and it hurts, but she's got that courage of the heart, you know? That's a beautiful movie, by the way, if you have not seen The Secret of Nim.
No, Secret of the Nim.
The Secret of Nim. Yeah.
Secret of Nim.
It's somewhat related to what we're talking about because it's about the mice and the rats having a standoff, kind of.
Oh, okay.
So it's almost like a race thing in a sense, and the misunderstandings between the two. But Miss Brisby, she connects the dots and unites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I feel like the police and the military are pumped up to see protesters as enemies, as people that will harm others. and harm property.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't view them as people. So
Right.
they have a very aggressive mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the Kent State shootings in the 60s, the police was told that these are rough people. They're not even the students. They're, out to get us. They're organized, blah blah blah. So they
Mm-hmm.
came in with full force,
Yeah.
but that was not the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just students.
That's a
They
good
weren't
point too. Is that it's always
agitated.
kind of an act of going into war to dehumanize the opponent or whomever you're fighting against, and it's like almost an essential aspect of going into war. Whereas
Yeah,
maybe the solution is to never dehumanize a population, and then
right.
therefore there won't be a fucking war.
Exactly.
Only aggress against those who are aggressing on you. If you go in thinking these people are lesser than human, then it requires zero aggression. You're just going to put them down like a wild dog or
That's
whatever it is, like a
that's what
rabid animal.
that's where they're at. That's the military police mindset. You have to be in that mindset in order to do what the things that they're doing.
Right.
So that needs to
Needs
what
change.
change. Whatever happens before, if the information they're given, the pep talk. I don't know how that
Mm-hmm.
works. It'd be interesting to talk to a police person. Like, are you given how are instructions given? Like
Right.
when you go out into the protest, like are they like told like, okay, if this happens, we're going to do this. Like, what are the tactical
Mm-hmm.
information they're given? You know?
That's the thing is that the police they're there to serve and protect. So in order to protect, they have to have a keen eye for the perpetrator, but to
Right.
serve, they have to have a keen eye for the innocent. And I think half of that equation is missing from their training. They're looking for the problem always. They're always looking for the problem, but they're not looking for to defend innocence. They're looking to crush enemies, but not defend the innocent. And I think in many ways, the innocent are just in the way of their
Right.
job. Like, get out of the fucking way. I'm doing a
That,
job here. But it's like, no,
that,
you're there to serve and protect.
right. I mean, that's what happened with that gentleman, that elderly gentleman. He
Right.
was in the way.
He was in the
He's
way,
in
yeah.
their way. And so he was eliminated because he was in the way
Yeah,
of
that's all it takes. Yeah.
of their goal, which is to debilitate the enemy of the protester, like at any
Mm-hmm.
at any means
Mm-hmm.
necessary.
By any
That's what
means,
they
yeah.
said. By any means necessary, you
Mm-hmm.
need to move these protesters in New York City. They caught them on the radio saying stuff like that. That's why
Yeah.
they ran
I
people over.
heard that. That's some crazy stuff that they
Yeah.
captured, yeah, on the
So it
audio.
comes from, I mean, it's the culture of policing.
And it's the culture, it's the us versus them mentality. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why to break that divide, maybe they have to employ community leaders. They put them on the payroll as advisors. There should be some element within the community that's somehow incorporated in the policing of that community. Somehow
Yeah.
as an advisor,
Yeah, because right now it's code of silence.
Yep.
You killed someone and I will defend you because I could have killed someone too, kind of idea. And that right there is a problem, big problem.
Big problem. And drugs is the other thing. I know it's going to be a long process to decriminalize all drugs and an even longer process to legalize all drugs. But that's a lot of why police go crooked. That's a big reason of why a lot of these police officers are crooked, because the money's too tempting.
Right.
They're right next to it. Either they
They're
turn
right
it
next
into
to it,
state's evidence, or they sell it, or they
and I can
bust people to
understand.
take it and sell it. It's
Yeah.
like,
And they're probably like, well, we're putting our lives at risk. I deserve this money.
yeah.
I'm not getting paid enough. What am I getting paid? Like, what, 80 grand a year? Like, that's not enough money for
And
putting
they're
your life
busting
risk.
like a drug dealer who's making 80 grand a month.
Right.
And it's like, fuck this inequality, right? I'm a cop. I should be making more than they're making. And yeah, maybe so, but this is why the system is messed up. It's not functioning. It's not generating the best for us.
Right.
all. It's not, you know? And I think drugs is a big part. A lot of people think when you say legalize drugs, they think you're advocating the use of drugs. That's such a bullshit argument, you know? I think if you have any questions about legalizing drugs, you got to do your research and just not expect that you know the outcome, right? Not to just, oh, no, of course not. It's going to make everyone a drug addict. Slow down, do some research. You know, Portugal has decriminalized drugs for over a decade. There's other places. Look into what's happening. You know, do some comparison studies and consider it, right?
Yeah.
Because the prisons are filled up with a lot of non-violent people who are being further criminalized and turning into violent people. And it's not good for us, for anybody. It makes no sense. You know, a lot of drug users also are just, you know, struggling with some sort of past aggression, mental disturbances, victimization, you know. I mean, it's already been like studied. It's, you know, it's pretty much understood that people enter into, you know, whether it's substance abuse or prostitution because of, you know, difficulties that have been unaddressed, right?
Right.
And it's unfortunate. And to further victimize these people by locking them up is insanity. Insanity.
Yeah. They need help. Which this is why I really believe that the funding the police, but reallocating that money to put like social workers, psychologists, people that are there to help.
Yeah.
Is better than just keeping people in jail. You know, we've got to work on the rehabilitation part.
Totally. People that are addicted to drugs are like slaves. They're slaves to drugs. You know, there needs to be an emancipation somehow. You know, the taboo has to be lifted. You know, the taboo is what keeps the shackles on. It makes them slaves to it.
I think in San Francisco, there's a building just for homeless alcoholics, and they just live in this, you know, small apartment in the building, and they're given their alcohol, their beer, their whatever, on a regular basis, that they have to go into a place and say, hey, you know, like medication, kind of like a dispensary within the building, and they are given their alcohol because they're addicted to alcohol, and they will die if they don't have it. And there's no problem.
Yeah.
The entire building is fine. Everybody has, unfortunately, they have an addiction, but if they stop drinking, you know, then they're dead, and then they're out in the street and they're stealing from people and they're harassing people on the street for stuff. But here it's all contained, and they're getting what they need because they're addicted, you know, and it's a good way to deal with a situation that's unfortunate, you know, and it helps the community because then there's less drunk homeless people harassing people for money or whatever, or stealing, you know. But that idea is so crazy because people would be like, that's not fair. You know, it's not fair to have free housing for alcoholics. Not realizing that it benefits everybody.
Right, exactly. Not realizing the consequences of not having it. Not understanding how it doesn't just hurt the substance abuser, but all of society. It spills into it. Yeah, that's why people have to move away from their passion to punish and move towards the righteousness of rehabilitation, of redemption, and stop canceling people and stop this whole shit of the cancel culture and all that. Because canceling someone does not make them disappear. It just strengthens their argument and makes them frustrated and makes them maybe domestically abuse the people they're living with and makes them shout at the person at the supermarket or whatever. It spreads. You don't make someone almost lose their damn mind and think it doesn't affect anyone else. You know, when someone has nothing to lose, then they fucking lose it. You know? And by canceling people, you're basically putting them in a situation where they have nothing left to lose. If they're not welcome into society because XYZ, you know?
And also, usually the reason people get canceled is silly. And it's like for a misunderstanding or, I don't know, it's not helpful.
No. And then all people are after, too, is like, well, you have to apologize for it. Fuck the apology. Just spend 4 hours talking about it. Who cares about a fucking apology if there's nothing behind it, if it means nothing, if you're just saving to save your ass? Instead, formally educate whatever the problem is and broadcast it. So there's like a learning opportunity for others who also are in that trap. What?
Yeah.
Who cares about
I
an apology? I don't give a damn if someone says sorry and they don't mean it. The hell is that?
yeah. Yeah. I Okay, so let's say right now, I'm saying, uh, I don't believe that the system is racist. I believe that it's fair, let's say, and that people get arrested because they were looking for it. Like, what would you tell me if that was my thought? Like, I don't understand why people are rioting. They shouldn't be rioting because the police are there to help. My experience has always been positive.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to me if I had that opinion? Like,
I would say you're half right and you're half wrong, like most people are most of the time with everything. I would say the system in itself is not inherently racist, so to speak. It was and had been forever, but it is hard to find a law that's enshrined in law that specifically targets a race. There's not too much of that going on, at least in the United States, you know? It's just that the individuals enforcing the law might be racist. And because they're the ones with a monopoly on violence and power, then it's easy to see the system as being racist. Because those who are responsible for carrying out the rules that we live by, the law and order, if they're racist, then the system may as well be racist, right? Because they're abusing their power. So there's a huge difference between a racist system and having a fair system, but the power is being abused, you know? And I would say that, you know, it's hard to find anyone who's entirely wrong or entirely right. Most issues are not so binary, so black and white, so yes and no, up and down. You know, there's a lot of nuance involved in most things. So no one should ever be embarrassed or afraid to say what they think and be willing and open-minded enough to change their position as they get new information. That's what we've all been doing since we were babies. We used to think it was cool to poop in our pants. You know what I'm saying? Then you get new information. You know what I mean? And then you go through a process of education and you stop. You do something that's better, right? Well, in most cases, all of what we do, there's room for progress in just about everything that we do. You know, nobody's perfect and there is no perfection. It's always a move towards that, though, and that's cool. And it's the same thing with the system of justice. And I would not say it's inherently racist. I would say that it needs to be improved. I would say there are people who are racist, and I would say that those individuals are victims of their life experience and their mentors that did a poor job. And nothing, I would say most, all things have redemption value. Just about everything, right? It's kind of like that whole saying, like, one man's trash is another man's treasure. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you're throwing it away. You think it has no value, but it does have value for somebody. And that's why I think it's not okay to just blanket things as, it's all bad. But it's not all bad for everyone. The police have saved lives. The police have done courageous things, you know, and they've taken lives. And they've done dishonest, horrible things. So you can't just, that's not how you progress, in my opinion. That's like telling a 7 or 8 year old who peed in their pants, like, we don't need you anymore, jump off the cliff. You know what I mean? It's like, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to learn from them, and it's not something anyone should be embarrassed about. If anything, it's something to be proud about, having an open mind, knowing that you're not right about everything. You know, that's a badge of honor. People who think
yeah,
they know everything are wrong. Nobody knows everything. Not even the smartest people on the planet know everything. The smartest
hmm
people on the planet still can learn something, and surprisingly enough, they might learn it from someone who's dumb as fuck, right? And that's why you should always have your eyes and your ears open, even if you're standing across from someone who you think is the dumbest motherfucker on the planet. Still listen, because you might not learn something directly, but indirectly about yourself, about the world you live in. You might be surprised. Giving people the benefit of the doubt, you might surprise yourself on what you would learn, because there's something that can be learned from everything. So yeah, I would say something like that to an individual would say that, I don't think there's anything anyone can say where I would just be like, that's it, unless it was an act of violence or an aggression against my family, my loved ones, other individuals, those are
Yeah.
the line crossers for me, those are the deal breakers,
Hmm.
it's kind of goes back to that whole sticks and stones thing, sticks and stones. Yeah, I got a problem with that, but
Yeah.
names, we can work with that, I can always
Yeah.
leave or I can talk to you, it's not such a problem, and I think people get so up in arms about words,
Mhm.
and what they mean. And, if somebody's calling you something that doesn't size you up correctly, they're just wrong.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to attack them. Doesn't mean that you have to think of them as the enemy. They're just misinformed. It's okay. We're
Yeah.
all misinformed about one thing or another, you know?
Yeah.
So,
It's kind of like there's the WHO spokes guy that says he was like, I think the orange guy said something mean about him. He's like, I don't really care what he thinks. I know who I am. I know what I am. Um, so he like really kind of showed people how to like take a negative comment and just say like that doesn't I hear what you're saying, but that has nothing to do with me. That's not me. I'm
mhm.
not what you're saying. Like I know who I am.
Yeah, it's a learned thing. It's a very wonderful skill to have, to know
Yeah.
the difference between that and, okay, if you're hearing the same thing from a multitude of people, then maybe there's truth to it. But if a wild card comes out and says some stupid shit to you, it's not, those aren't fighting words. Those are just dumb words. It's
Yeah.
okay, you know?
Yeah.
People get so quick to that boiling point. It's a thing. Meditation helps. Whatever, yoga. I don't know.
I know it's also the other way. Like what people also should be aware of things of words not to use that have historical
Yes.
um negative heavy meaning, knowing that and using them
Mm-hmm.
against people
That's right.
on purpose.
That's right.
So
And those
you
same
have
people should not question the use of it by the person that it was used against initially.
yeah.
There are certain words that were generated by white people to dehumanize other people. And if
Yeah.
those other people want to use it in any way they want, in my opinion, they're allowed. They didn't start the fire, you know?
Yeah.
That's not a complaint I don't think any white person should ever complain about that, the use of derogatory words against black people if black people they themselves use it. There's like
Yeah. Yeah, because I
zero
feel
complaint.
like that's the other argument that comes from racist is like, well,
Why can't I
I
say it if you say
why
it?
can I
That's
say it?
such
Yeah, why can I say it?
stupidity. That is so
And it's
stupid.
yeah, and it's a lack of um understanding and ignorance, why you can't use it.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so then the reason why white people can't use the N-word is because it was used as a derogatory term to humiliate and degrade Black people in America.
Right.
Um,
It's an invention of white people.
yeah, an invention to hurt others on purpose.
Yeah. It's a garbage
Um,
invention, and you don't blame the person that was oppressed by that invention for its existence. It's the most ridiculous shit ever. You know,
yeah,
you take responsibility and you just shut the hell up. There's really no good use in that word coming out of a white person's mouth. I mean, it might be, okay, it's acceptable in certain circumstances for sure. It is just a word. And if it's understood with the individuals you're with, there are circumstances, of course, but you don't go up out of the blue and run up on someone with that fucking word.
right.
Ever. That's fucking crazy. That's like
Yeah,
the
so both, I think people need to
sledgehammer.
not take things so seriously with words, but also be responsible with your words and know the meaning of words.
That's the interesting thing about living in Germany and coming from the United States is that there's an N word in both places.
Oh,
So here the N-word is Nazi. And you cannot say it without making people squirm or feel very uncomfortable. In the United States, however, I mean, golly.
Oh yeah, use that.
Somebody drops your pencil and you're like, what are you, fucking Nazi? You know, it's like so loose.
Nazi. Yeah, soup Nazi. That's like
Right.
everybody uses that. Everybody knows that. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no ill will behind it. You know, it's like saying jerk in the United States. But
Yeah.
here it's a very sensitive subject, you know, and I'm not comparing the two words. I'm just comparing the effect, right? It makes people uncomfortable. So if I were to go around throwing it around with my American feeling, it would be irresponsible of me. It would be a denial of other people's existence and feelings and experiences, and that's ignorant, you know? It's not cool. So
Right.
I don't go around saying it. You know? That's the valuing human life above your jerk off interest. You know what I mean? Human life is the most valuable thing to me. You know, I value it more than anything else, more than the environment. I know a lot of people put the environment first. I value human life more than animal life. I know a lot of people put animal life first. It's cool. We all have our thing. But for me, human life is it and all. It's it. It's everything for me. That's how I feel. You know, it comes first. You know, so I'm all about straightening that out. And in my eyes, everything else works out after that's straight. If you want to protect animals, protect people. You want to protect the environment, protect people. If you protect people, the animals and the environment will be okay. That's how I feel. But they'll never be okay if you don't protect people. That's how I feel.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, if you feel like the entire world has turned their back on you, do you care about the environment?
Right. No, you don't care about anything.
You don't give a fuck about the environment. If you feel like all of the world's population doesn't give a damn about you, you're not out there making sure that you ball up your thing and recycle it. You're not. You know? Yeah. And the same thing goes for animals, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
if you feel like you're being treated like an animal,
yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not going to go protect animals.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. You just want to be able to protect yourself first.
Love each other. Love one another. Like Job from Arrested Development. Love each other.
I just watched Arrested Development last night.
That's funny because actually I guess this whole conversation has a lot to do with Arrested Development.
Ah. By society's.
Well, like we were saying, how racists have like limited their scope on what they can see, so they can't develop. So they're in that state of arrested development until they drop the racist bullshit. Until they drop these different blanket views of groups of individuals. You know, all Muslims are bad. All blah 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 blah. You know, it's not true. That's never true. Yeah. There's not all police are bad, not all white people are bad, not all black people are bad, not all transgender people are bad, whatever. Across the board. So whichever one of those groups you feel like you think is all bad, I'm here to tell you, you're wrong, but I love you. And there's still hope for you to have way more fun in your life, to build way better relationships in your life, to have way better career opportunities in your life. You just have to work a little bit, educate yourself a little bit, and don't be afraid to talk to people that are different than you. Go seek answers for yourself firsthand. Yeah. I remember hearing a bunch of anti-gay stuff when I was younger. A lot, I heard. That made me super interested in gay people. And when I first came across the first one in my high school, I was so driven to know that person. And lo and behold, that person became a huge influence on me. Huge. Coolest person ever. Best taste in music. Awesome. To this day, I give so much credit to Brian Hoffmeister of Illinois. I mean, really, what an experience. And what a benefit when you get to meet an individual from a marginalized group and you get this wonderful opportunity to understand that their value as a human is the same as yours. it puts you in an awesome position to fight the good fight, to gain the admiration from individuals who are in that fight, the gratitude and admiration. And I mean, it's a great feeling, you know? So I encourage everybody to look into Daryl Davis, the guy who turned over 200 KKK members away from the KKK. Jane Elliott, watch her documentary from 1963. Jane Elliott, a school teacher who did this experiment with her classroom. I think it's called Brown Eye, Blue Eye experiment.
Yeah.
Go to YouTube, watch that. If you feel anything about like looters, racist, blah, whatever, go watch that. And,
I wonder if we should watch something together. Is that something we could do or no?
I don't know. I'm not equipped to do it right now.
No, okay.
But we could probably figure it out in the future where
because I thought
do that.
for next time we could maybe watch something and talk about it. You know,
I think
like
it's a cool
pause it
idea.
and talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's a cool idea. We'll figure out the logistics behind it so it works. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. We can have like a moment,
a chat,
which is like what friends do, sharing videos and stuff. Did you see it? Did you see it? You haven't seen it? Oh my god, let's watch it together. Let's give our reaction. Yeah. Reaction 2.
Reaction. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good video. What is it, Miss Elliott?
Jane Elliott.
Jane Elliott.
If you search in YouTube for brown-eyed, blue-eyed experiment, that will most likely bring it up. Brown-eyed, blue-eye experiment. And it's like, I think, 15 minutes long.
And that's another thing. It's so stupid because it's just our skin color. It could be easily our eye color, our hair color, our lip color, our teeth color. That's so stupid. It's
so stupid.
It's so stupid. Like you could just pick any like feature. Your elbows are not pointy enough.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what are you talking about? It's so absurd. Like
it really is.
It's stupid.
It's stupid, but it's really no surprise. I mean, we've evolved from like larva or something. I don't know, some sludge that crawled out of some water somewhere a million years ago or whatever, you know what I mean? So I'm not surprised that there are such problems, you know? But what's cool is we live in the age of information where transferring information is like instantaneous. So in terms of progress and moving forward, it's go time. It's showtime, right? If people are passionate, things can happen quickly these days, which is cool and promising.
Right.
You know, whereas in the past, when people were passionate about something, you know, it would still take another 100 years of generational work to spread the message or whatever, to build up the support needed to move it forward a space, you know. But these days, wow, with global pressure,
people are the information is more easily available, and the pressure to be educated and not be ignorant is bigger. I feel like than it was before. I think a lot of generations thrived off ignorance and kept their family ignorant.
Yeah,
because it was beneficial to them.
Totally. Yeah. Right. I think information is the new record store. Right? When we were growing up, we used to go to the record stores because it was the only place you can go to learn about music, right?
Right.
You look at the albums, if they're cool enough, they let you listen, you know, before you buy, right? And that was it. Where else would you go, right? But nowadays, okay, who needs a record store? We miss them. It's great to have them around, but you really don't need them because of the way things are packaged digitally these days, downloads and such. But hey, information. Because the information that's mainstream is not the valuable information.
Right.
You have to dig for it, just like in a record store. And the record store is right in front of you. It's your laptop or your mobile phone. You know, it's the information store, right? And the cool kids are going to dig, and they're going to get hip to the right shit, right? But you have to dig. You have to dig.
Yeah.
You know, while the news is going on and on about the same repetitious bullshit, why haven't they shown Daryl Davis? Why haven't they shown Jane Elliott's experiment? Why haven't they gone deep into the teachings of MLK or Malcolm X or any of the loud and proud voices of the civil rights movement, or the emancipation of slavery, Harriet Tubman, so on, and blah, blah, it goes on and forever. I mean, it would serve society far more to share that information than just repeat over and over and over again these like cycles of anger porn or frustration porn or whatever the hell it is. It's like eating fat, sugar, and salt. It's like, yeah, I want more. It's not good for me, but I want more. It's the same thing with the goddamn news. It's not good for me, but I don't know. I want more. I need to see more. But it's not good.
Right.
Whereas
it's hard. Yeah.
It's hard, but every single like piece of information is totally available to every person, unless you're in China or some communist country where it's limited. But even there's probably like ways to get to it. I don't know. But that's the record store, man. Get hip.
Mm-hmm.
And share it, That's what was cool about records, too. When you found it, you couldn't wait to tell somebody else how cool this record that you found was. And you took pride in it, right? Yeah. It's like, I'll make you a copy. I'll record it for you. I'll dub it on a cassette, or I don't know, whatever we used to do back in the old days. You could do that with information. Share it.
Yeah.
Spread it.
Yeah.
It's all good. Yeah, this has been better than I thought it would be, Sabrina. I thought we were going to be like really depressed this whole time.
Yeah, I came in not knowing like how it's going to work out. I know we were both probably somewhat informed about what's going on and probably can talk about it, but I feel more positive now than I did before. Honestly, like my take was more doom and gloom here, because I couldn't see a way to get evil officers like out. But it's not who I need to pay attention to. I need to pay attention to the good police and have them remove the bad seeds. I think you're right in that. And that to support the good cops, because I know there's some out there.
Gotta be.
There's, we've seen some, Neil, with the protesters. So it's interesting. I feel like I've changed like my mind for a better, for better after talking with you. Because I mean, I've never been like specifically against police, but I just I couldn't think of a way to like have a bridge to them, like not see them as the enemy. Like, right. And the beginning of our conversation, I feel like the police are clearly the enemy. All of them, they're all complicit to it. Even if they don't do anything, violent, they're still accepting of the violent people in their group. But the only way to change that is if we support the good cops to, rat on the bad cops and get them out. Nobody wants them. The good cops don't want them either.
Yeah.
But the cops need to know that that they're supported by the public, that they're not all hated. And it's not really even about hating the police. It's just hating the brutality.
Yeah. And there has to be, reform in terms of use of force. What is acceptable use of force? I don't think it's
kill people.
Yeah, I don't think it's choking people out like that.
No.
There's got to be a different way to subdue somebody.
Yeah.
It's it's undignified. It's dehumanizing. It's insane.
Even if they're quote unquote provoked, the police, I don't believe that they should try to kill some lady that's obviously crazy, trying to kill them with a knife. I don't know, like they could figure out a way to subdue her.
Totally.
Drop kick her or something. Like, it's not going to be pretty, but at least you're not killing her.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a way. Like, hey, tech companies, hey, think of something
or like even what you mentioned this. I think you might have been joking, but why not like a net? Like, just throw something over someone to subdue them.
Like if you had a fire extinguisher and you blasted it, like you can't see. Like I'm not saying that should be your method, but isn't there something that slows people down to a non-threatening position, like that doesn't even hurt? You know, it's like the
Yeah.
death penalty thing. If you're into the death penalty, okay, we got to talk still. But before we get to that end road of like we should abolish it, how about we think about dignified means of execution?
Electrocution. Holy
It's
shit.
insane. That's what I was thinking the other day. I was thinking, how is it acceptable that society thinks it's okay to strap someone down and electrocute them? That is so barbaric and insane. Whereas you can just easily just gas someone and they feel like euphoria on the way out.
Yeah.
Like they do this like some cattle and shit. Like when, you know, they like put down the cattle or whatever, you know, I don't know. But there's humane ways to take a life.
But yeah, people have to get over that revenge part.
Yeah. Ugh. That's gross.
That's the part that people like, they're into it right now.
That's the part they like. Yeah. That's the part, that punishment aspect, that like, yeah, we got the last laugh thing. Like you went out screaming and kicking. Like, ugh. That's not a positive thing for you or anyone.
That's demonic energies.
Yeah, that's demonic energy for sure. If someone's going to be killed, what difference does it make if it hurts or not? They're dead. They can't bother you anymore. Why does it have to be so damn barbaric? But I mean, that's another discussion.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, America's got to get over that hang up. Maybe stop with the torture porn, Games of Thrones, and all that stuff. Maybe someone out there should write a really cool show. I always used to say, like, why is PlayStation only like these crazy violent games when everybody knows the best and most fun game was Mario Brothers?
Yeah.
Like, why does it always have to be like some zombie killing game or some war game? Why don't they develop a colorful world? Like, everyone loved it. Like, people would still love it. I don't... Why? Why do you have to play a game and then feel like all like depressed? Like, why can't it be? When I used to play Mario, you get a little frustrated, you know. You can't get past Bowser, but you never felt like so down, you know.
Yeah. Whenever
I play some of those other games, which is very few and far between, I'm like, it doesn't make you feel good. That's crazy to just blah 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 blah. Like, what? That's crazy.
I know. And
It's
like
sick.
when you see young people, they get addicted and then they get angry when the parents tell them no. It's because it's addicted to their brain is addicted to the violence.
Yeah. And I'm
It's
not
an
so
addiction.
like I'm not in the camp of like, you know, violent video games create violence in public life, but I'm pretty sure it creates depression. I'm pretty sure of that. It creates antisocial behavior, you know?
Yeah, it's an addiction to the game. You become addicted to the violence in the game, to the whatever feeling it gives you when you shoot somebody.
Yeah. Get an appetite for love, get an appetite for education, and then just feast on that shit. Hit the buffet and tear it fucking down. Throw some of that fucking compassion gravy on top and just slurp the fuck out of it.
Compassion gravy. And learn new things, like learn new skills all the time.
Yeah.
It's the easiest time in the world. You can learn anything on YouTube.
That's the cool thing, yeah. Like anything, you know, like even some quirky stuff, like a magic trick. Start there. Watch a 3-minute video on how to do a magic trick with a toothpick. Go bedazzle some people, and then get into the fact that you can learn shit that makes your life better. You know? Start small and expand on it.
I have a goal. Every year I want to learn a new skill in like fiber arts. So like a couple years ago I learned the Lucette cord. This one's a little janky. I didn't learn good. But anyway, so, and then I learned knitting. So, you know, put yourself a goal, at least one skill every year.
Yeah.
By the time you're like 50, even like right now, I would have 10 new skills when I'm 50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And if
Imagine
it's not
if I started
skills,
this
just make things
early.
beautiful around you.
Yeah.
You know, go get a nice flower or a plant, or put some fresh paint on the wall, or clean up the hallway, or pick up some trash outside of your house. That feels good too. And you also get to make this experience of like, wow, people appreciate it. Oh, it feels good to do the good thing. It's like whatever you're good at, there's a value. You have a value. There is value in every human being, even if you've been nothing but a damn nuisance your whole fucking life. It's not too late to harness the value that's inherent in you. It's there. It might be dormant, but it's there.
I've been to therapy a whole bunch, many years. And one thing a therapist said once to me that really resonated was, if there was a baby out in the street and there was no mom or dad, every single person passing by would at least think about helping the baby.
Right.
Right. And what does a baby bring? Nothing. The baby brings nothing to the table. The baby takes food, time, everything. But that baby is very valuable.
Right.
Has an inherent God-given value, and has nothing to do with what the baby can offer you, what the baby does. Nothing. It's just because it's a human being, a human baby. Mm-hmm. And I that helped me a lot because I wasn't able to work anymore. And a lot of my identity came from my job, what I could do, how I can help people, how, like, what I have accomplished. That was gone. I didn't have that anymore. So I needed to find value in myself for no reason, for nothing, for not doing anything, for not being anything, just being a human person.
No doubt.
And that helped me understand that I am, every single person, every human being on earth is valuable, has value. By doing nothing. Just the virtue of being alive, you're valuable.
Totally. And that's why when anyone commits suicide, there's always going to be people that are completely destroyed by it, the aftermath. And even if you feel like you have no value, you do. You do. And I just hope that you come in contact with someone that makes you realize that, because you do. Everyone. Every single person. Even if you're guilty of atrocious things, you can still find a way to add value. You may not be able to redeem yourself entirely, but you can add value before this, the fantastic ride on this pale blue dot ends. You can add value. You can feel better about yourself, and Yeah,
I feel like police need to understand that. Like, no matter what the criminal did, they're still valuable.
Totally. I mean, how many stories you hear about like ex-gang members that go on to, get the kids out of the gangs later on in life. And they have a huge list of terrible things they did.
You don't know shit when you're a teenager.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Even in your 20s, I still didn't know shit.
Yeah.
Barely I know something now. Barely.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, we just had 15 teenagers, 16 and 17, try to loot the athletic store or whatever during the protests. They're like, oh, I know, we have a good idea, everybody, let's go loot the place to go get some shoes, something stupid. Like, those kids should be rehabilitated, or at least given some time, because they're just teenagers who are just had a stupid idea, all of them.
Totally. And each and every one of them that have looted during this protest, guess what? If you have some shit that you looted, you could give it back. And you will be regarded as a very admirable individual. And you will set a precedent that'll go on to inspire countless other people. So if you're at home feeling bad because you were impulsive and you did some shit because everybody else was doing it, and now you're sitting there feeling guilty and shameful, it's not too late. Everyone makes mistakes, especially if you're young. So don't feel bad. Don't feel terrible. You can do the right thing, and society will reward you for it. And if society doesn't, I will. If you try to return some shit that you looted and it backfires, hit me up in the DMs. Because I have a great deal of admiration for you.
Yeah. Oh.
So should we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up.
All right.
I hope, I know I feel better just talking. Hopefully people listening feel better. Hopefully we share share some positivity in all this negativity.
Helps to
Maybe
talk about
some
it.
advice. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. And if
Yeah.
you have any thoughts, please share in the comments below. Um, like our video, press the like, subscribe, have other people subscribe to, share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave whatever you're feeling. If you feel something that's contrary to what we said, we're not going to hate on you.
Oh no,
It's all
definitely.
good.
Yeah, if you have a different opinion, please, don't feel free, don't feel shy to share.
No doubt. Yeah, it's been great for me, Sabrina. I feel better too. I was actually very mopey and dopey before we started. I wasn't sure, very confused, but I feel much better.
Yeah, me too. I just like we said, just to be able to talk about it and just kind of like get your thoughts out, hash it out, rehash it out.
Ah, you got it.
Hey.
Hey, hey now. Yeah,
We love you, rehashers. Thank you for listening. Um, and we're here to listen too. So please feel free to leave a comment. And if we got something like totally wrong, if you feel like we're totally off base and we don't understand shit, please, I want to know. I want to learn if I'm misinformed or miseducated on something.
same here.
Let us know.
Same here. Because being wrong only means there's an opportunity to grow.
Yay. Yeah. And really, I think our generation has that ability, that nuance. We're old enough to know you're not always right, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's our time in life right now. Yeah, humility
Yeah.
comes with age.
Humility.
Comes with age. Yeah,
It does.
yeah.
But it doesn't always hit every generation, I don't think. I don't think I've heard other generations talk about, oh, I don't know everything.
Hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, we're living in this age of like massive exposure to so much that it's easy to be humbled. But I think
Right.
in days of old, it wasn't so easy to feel humble. You felt like, well, I've observed and read everything. What do you? What
Yeah.
the fuck? How could you? How could you fucking possibly be correct? I mean, look at my library. Are you suggesting I'm wrong? It's impossible.
Yeah, that was the attitude before.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a new thing to realize that you're not going to know everything. You're not the best. You're not the fastest anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Totally.
okay.
And the world is not the only fucking planet, with
Yeah.
with the sun going around us, and it's like we're here to get warmed up all the time and all this shit. It's like, my God, what we have in terms of an understanding of the universe. It's pretty easy to feel a synergy if you allow it and feel connected to other human life and to respect it all, because it's not us versus them on this planet. It's us versus them, potentially alien
Oh,
invaders and
shit.
shit. That's the
Damn.
them. The them
That's
is not
funny.
on this planet. It's only
Oh my
us.
God. That's
Them
the
is
only thing that's
is
going to
out
bring us
there.
together.
I mean, truly, I mean, we have a lot more in common than we think. What I'm saying? If we get visited, you'll understand that fast. When you get like
Man.
snarling terror fucking teeth like slurping your brain out of a goddamn sippy straw, then you'll realize real quick that you got a lot more in common with people of different color than you thought.
Yeah, right.
You know?
I saw an alien ship.
What? You've been on an alien ship?
I saw one,
Oh, okay. Let's save
or
it.
a UFO rather. It's unidentified, but it looked pretty weird.
Oh, I can't wait
Go-
to dig into that
Yeah,
next week.
it's the weirdest thing. Yeah. And I saw it for a prolonged amount of time, like, I don't know, 20 seconds. So it's
Wow.
a long time for seeing something like, what am I looking at?
Damn,
For next
LSD
time.
is a hell of a drug. Okay.
UFO.
UFO.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's unidentified.
Yeah, so how could you be wrong?
Yeah.
All right, y'all.
Yes. Bye, everybody. Keep
Episode
the
7.
peace. Love each other. Love yourself.
Yeah. I love you. You love
You
me.
love me.
We're a happy
as can be.
family with a hip hop, butterscotch. Here we come and hug each other.